All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our 8th episode of 6 on 6, and today we have a very special guest. He's going to be it's actually going to be more of a Spacestation episode, I suppose, because we've got Dylan Bosco joining us, the Blackbeard smoke main, two-time world champion. And yeah, you have quite the hardware and quite the notoriety around the scene. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We'll start off with a brief history of your time starting out on Xbox, transitioning to PC. And if you want, just give us a very brief summation, because I know you've told your story lots of times before, but for people that might not be fully aware of where you came from and what what you did in real life and then gaming, etc., I figure a brief rundown is in order.
Sure. So you want me to just start from the beginning?
It's
The very
the first
beginning?
day you can remember when you were 3, 4 years old. If you have earlier memories, feel free. Did your family come from humble origins?
You want me to talk about before gaming?
No,
Before
just
this?
start with gaming.
He's just troll.
um, I mean, I don't know. Well, I've been gaming my whole life. It's always been a thing, right? I didn't even play Rainbow competitively or for fun. I didn't even know about this game. I play Call of Duty, we've talked about this plenty of times. I play Call of Duty competitively, lots of game battles, lots of online tournaments, stuff like that. Nothing, anything really serious. Just yeah, just what or a majority of the comp players were doing back then. And one of my buddies, one of my teammates, he ended up getting Rainbow, and he just always talked about it every day about how much fun it was and how Call of Duty just sucks compared to it. And he would try to get me to get it. He'd try to get me to play with him almost every day. He'd nag me about it, and eventually ended up just getting it and trying it out. And I remember at first, I'm like weird with games. Like, I like to be good at what I do. People that know me know this. Like, when I'm not doing well, like Troy can attest to this. Like, when I'm not doing well at something, like, I get mad. Not at anyone, just that I'm not doing well. You know. So I remember at the beginning, I think it was like the first couple days, I was like, screw this game. I'm gonna uninstall this game. I hate this game. Like, this game sucks. Like, that's how I thought at first when I first started playing, because I was not good at all. Um, but it's like one of those things that just grows on you. It grew on me as I played it more, and it became more rewarding as I got better at it. So um, eventually, I just started playing it over Call of Duty every day, like regularly. I was playing it every day and trying to get better at it. I had no intentions of uh, becoming a competitive player on it. I just played because I enjoyed it, and I was getting really good at it. So that's what made it fun for me. Um, and then people just kind of noticed, just other competitive players in ranked noticed me. They asked if I want one of these guys. His name was Please Peak. I'm sure he still plays a little bit on PC. He noticed me, asked me to join this team, make a team with him. This is like what you would call a T3 team right now. This is a team just with a bunch of ranked players that they just want to play competitively. Uh, so we put this team together. I think it was called No Fear at the time. Just a bunch of other Xbox players. We played game battles every day. I remember going up against so what was Elevate. I forgot what their name was before they were Elevate. We played against them a lot on game battles. They had like Skies, Laxing. I actually don't know if Lax was on the team, but Skies, England, Geo. Like, I played against those guys on game battles a lot. Like before I was anybody. Um, and then after playing with them for so long, I got noticed by some other people that were on what you would call, I guess, a T2 team, like a team a step up, which was Onslaught. I think they were Onslaught at the time when they noticed me, and I ended up getting a tryout with them at one point. And so at this point, I'm playing with a bunch of good friends of mine that I play ranked with every day on Xbox. So it was like the first moment where I kind of like had to tell my friends that I was walking out on them in a way. It was like me telling them, like, yeah, guys, I got an opportunity to play with this other team. They're better. It's a better opportunity for me. Um, I still love all you guys, but it was time. And I remember it was really difficult because I liked all the guys genuinely, and they all took it pretty hard, and they didn't like me for a good period of time. like they were upset with me. Um, but I mean, I think history speaks for itself. It was obviously the right decision. So now I'm on Onslaught. I try out. The tryout goes well. They pick me up. My first season with them, we ended up qualifying for the LAN in Poland, year one, season 3. That was my first competitive season, year one, season 3. Um, we ended up qualifying for the Poland LAN. It was like, I remember we shouldn't have qualified. Like the points were very, very close, and we ended up just barely making it. We went there. We got first rounded by Supremacy at the time. Yeah, it was Supremacy. Wasn't a good showing from us at all. Pretty disappointed, honestly, after our performance. And then it was like another opportunity after that. After that LAN was over, it was the other Xbox team that was there, which was Excellence. This was the old Elevate, so this was Skies. They had Laxing at this time, England, Dashboard, and this guy named Hefe. So after this event, I get offered from them to join. I was really good friends with Skies. I played a lot of Go Fours with Skies. He knew that I was really good. We had some chemistry already, so he put in a good word for me. They ended up picking me up, and they also ended up picking up Fighter. I'm sure only people from Xbox would really remember him since he didn't really switch over.
He was at the Raleigh Major.
Yeah,
as an attendee.
Yeah, and he definitely was around at the bars talking to people, but I feel like a good portion of the PC community doesn't actually know him or how good he was. He doesn't play anymore at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they picked me, they picked Fighter and myself up, and we became Elevate after that, like shortly after that. And we had already, so the year one invitational, they invited teams privately, I believe. That's how it was. Like there was one Xbox team that got invited, and then a PC. I'm not sure how it was on PC, but I just knew we got directly invited.
They invited 2 teams, so they invited 2 teams on Xbox and 2 teams on PC, and then there was a qualifier for each region.
That's right.
So like on PC, us and Sisu got invited, and then there was a qualifier for the 4 other regions.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were one of the teams that got invited, and I remember thinking to myself that that I could be joining it. Like I would have to play in the qualifier. I remember when they first picked me up. It was between. So I actually had another offer that I didn't really ever talk about. Aside from Elevate, this team called Denial also offered me, which was the team that Fighter was on. It was the team that had Laxing when they won the first season and the second season.
That was the infamous Denial, right? That had the terrible leadership and then got sold and tried again.
Yes, Denial Esports, yeah. It was a long time ago. But yeah, I actually had an offer from them as well. And then I remember they would be trying to convince me, and they were telling me that they have they're gonna get the auto invite because they won the first 2 seasons. Like it's a sure thing. And it was basically me choosing okay, this is an automatic invitation to invitationals. Like you want to be there, or I go with a team that I think is better, but I don't think is going to get the invite. And I ended up going with the second option. I chose Elevate. I thought they were better. I thought I'd have a better chance to win with them despite qualifying. And I remember I was on their team for like 2 weeks, and they never told me they got invited. They didn't tell me. It was a big joke. Like I remember, like it was like 2 weeks in, we just got done scrimming one day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Bosco, we got invited. We're going." I was like, "What the hell?" Like I've been on this team for 2 weeks, and they knew the whole time. They just didn't tell me. They were messing with me or something. So I mean, that was kind of a relief, I chose that team and just got the auto invite. And then we went on to win the whole event for Xbox. We were supposed to play a Brazil team first, but they couldn't make it because of visa problems or something. Yeah. So we ended up playing Supremacy again with Bibu, and Bibu was like the big name of that team back then. We played them first round, so it was kind of like a redemption match for me because they knocked me out at the last lane I was at, and it was actually a good match. We went to third map, and we ended up taking a third map. Back then, the system was much simpler, much more simple. Like there was no double elimination or anything. Like we just played one quarter. We had a bye in the quarterfinals. We didn't have to play in the quarterfinals because we were invited or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we played Supremacy in the semifinals, beat them, and then we're in the grand finals against Vitality, and just the best of 3. And
it's a great match. That Vitality match was worth going back and rewatching.
Yeah. I've gone back and rewatched it sometimes just to see,
one of the fastest 10-0s.
Yeah, it was a quick one.
Jeez.
The game was a lot different back then.
Anyway, we were talking about Xbox. So let's, because we just killed, a good solid 10 minutes trying to do this. Let's talk about, we can cleanse and purge the demons. The demon is gone.
Yes.
Let's talk about your reflections on Console Pro League and just what your thought process was when it starts to close down, because you get told at the Invitational that that's it, it's done, it's kaput.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, right after winning the first Invitational, it was only a couple weeks or so that we were told that they were discontinuing the Xbox Pro League. So yeah, got the email saying it was discontinued, just on Xbox though. They're going to be keeping the PC Pro League, going forward with that, devoting more resources to that. I mean, it was pretty heartbreaking. It hit me pretty hard because I was also going through some just real life stuff, just stuff that was pretty personal. It was like a very heavy weight on my shoulders, and it was just really bad timing. I had this going on, and then that email saying that basically what everything that I have been doing the past 6 months, working really hard to be the best, kind of made it seem like it was all for nothing. Not all for nothing, but you know what I mean. Like we just won, and then they just cut the league right after we won. We thought we were going to be going on to win multiple tournaments. We thought we'd have a bright future in the Xbox Pro League. Yeah, it was pretty heartbreaking. And for me personally, this Pro League back when I was on Elevate was what was helping me to keep going. Like when I was in school and dealing with what I was dealing with. I'm not going to get into it, but it was helping me stay positive and have something to look forward to every day. Getting on, playing with my teammates, getting better, looking forward to the tournaments. So yeah, it was heartbreaking. There's no other word to describe it. But it did stop me for a while. I ended up I stopped gaming for a couple months at least. I would play Xbox still. I would play some casual games with some friends, but for the most part, I wasn't really playing anymore. I was just focusing on school and what was going on in my life. And then I don't know what really changed. Kind of just the urge to come back and compete again. The urge to just I see that all four of my old teammates on Elevate that I won with, they all made the switch. They all got PCs. They were all on top of it, and their first season here on PC, they made the Pro League, and they ended up doing very well in it too. I don't remember the exact placing, but yeah, it was the season where they made the LAN the first season. They made the LAN, yeah.
They made didn't they make? Was that the first season they made? No, it was Gamescom is where they made the finals.
Yeah. Gamescom was year 2, season 2.
Yeah.
Year 2, season 1 was Poland again, same as year 3, season 1.
Right.
So I wasn't supposed to go to that event. I was a last minute kind of sub. I was still a sub for them just because I was on their team on Xbox. I won with them. When I switched to PC, they were in the Pro League, and they were like, all right, you could be our sub, while you learn the ropes, get used to the mouse and keyboard. And I was like, sure, I'll stay as a sub. Why not? It's got to be good. It's only good for me right now. I'm new here. So I'm just trying to get better. I'm playing every day, grinding, and they're doing their thing with their full roster, and Geo was on the roster at this time, and for some reason he couldn't make the LAN in year 2, season 1, and we figured this out like halfway through the season. I'm pretty sure they already played a game with Geo when they realized that they couldn't go with him. So then they had to make the decision to either pick up a new player on PC, which they didn't know anyone on PC because they're all new to, they're all from Xbox, and they knew me and what I was capable of on Xbox, and they knew I was like a good competitor and I had the right mindset. So they were like, all right, if you think you're ready, we need you. And I was like, well, I'm not sure if I am ready, but I'll help you guys out. It was kind of like that situation. Like, it was only like a month or so. I was only on PC for a month, and I never played computer games growing up. It was only console for me. So it was very nerve-wracking for me. I was definitely nervous for that event just because of how much time I felt I had on PC playing against people. So to qualify for that event, I actually qualified with them. I didn't just they didn't qualify and just take me with. I played a couple of the series. We played a series against VG, which was Vertical Gaming at the time, and then we lost that series. And then we played Ominous for the last spot. And I remember back at this time, Ominous was like a scary team, I guess. Everyone was I remember everyone was talking about them like they were very, very good and a team to really worry about. I'm pretty sure most people thought that they were going to beat us in that match, in that series, but we ended up winning. And with that, we qualified for the LAN. And so I went with them. We played Penta in the first round. They wiped us. It wasn't even close. And I did not. I mean, I was not the only one that had an abysmal performance, but I was the one that I was the new guy to the team. I had the least amount of experience on PC. In their eyes and everyone else's eyes, probably the least amount of potential, compared to everyone else. So they made a business decision, a good business decision, to get a better player for the team. And I don't hold any ill will towards them whatsoever for this decision. I think it was the right decision. I don't think I was ready on PC. They ended up picking up Chapstick, who does not play anymore, but he was a very, very good player in his prime when he was playing with these guys. He filled my roles perfectly, and they ended up going on to Gamescom the next season and making the finals with this roster. So I wasn't upset about it. Sure, at first I was a little upset, especially about how I found out. I didn't really find out in a respectful way. I had to find out through a third party who wasn't even really nice about it. He kind of just threw a joke. I was playing against him in a ranked game, and he threw a joke at me, and he was just like, "Hey, Bosco, are your lips chapped?" That's what he typed to me. And I was just thinking to myself, why would he be saying this to me?
It's who I think it was, right?
Huh?
It's who I think it was, right? That said that?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure.
You gonna tell
I don't
us?
really. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say his name. Just out of respect for him. I don't think he would really care.
Fine.
He definitely wouldn't.
He would. I don't think he would really care. You know him really well, Parker. Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyways, he was just like, Bosco, are your lips chapped? And I'm sitting there in the rank game thinking to myself, what's going on? Why is he saying this to me? And then I'm thinking, Chapstick, he was on Ominous. He doesn't have a team right now. I didn't do so well with the team. I'm like, I kind of just figured it out based off that. He gave it to me, the information. And then I went to them and I was like, hey, so what's going on? They're like, yeah, we're going to be replacing you. And, it was, I just didn't like how I found out. I would rather them tell me, themselves. But it was out of their control how I found out. It was just someone else that told me. So other than that, though, I moved on from that pretty quickly. I was able to put that behind me and just I didn't let it weigh down on me or prevent me from doing anything that I wanted to do. I did end up taking a break after this happened. They cut me, and I was just I was still going through a lot of emotional stuff and all the stuff going on with school. It was a hard time, so I stepped away from gaming for a month or two. I remember I got a job at UPS. I started working there every morning. So I would do that, go straight to school, go to sleep at like 8 o'clock because I'm working at 5 a.m. every morning.
It's insane.
So
that's insane.
yeah,
by the way.
That was my life for a little while, and during that time it was kind of like a rebuilding period where I was just kind of rebuilding like who I was and like just working on myself, you know, trying to be where I wanted to be. And it was just, again, that urge to compete that brought me back, like that urge and like desire to like compete doing what I love. Like I love playing the game. I wasn't going to kid myself. Like I love to do it. I started to play again even while I was doing that UPS work. I would go to work every day in the morning, 5 a.m., go to class at 10 a.m., have class the whole day, and then I would get on and start playing with my team. And I remember this is when I was playing with Powerhouse. This is when I first came back, and I was playing with Powerhouse. And it wasn't even like a serious thing at the time. Like they were in CCS. Crazy was the guy on the team, and
it's like Crazy, Lowjacks, Nog, and Crim.
Crim, yeah, that was it.
Crim stick.
That was a fun time.
That was an interesting team.
It was pretty much Jules, Crazy, who brought me back. He's like, yeah, you should come play. Like me and him have been pretty close, you know, since Xbox. We play a lot together sometimes, and yeah, I was just playing with those guys for fun, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed competing again, and I saw that I was getting really good. Like I could see it, and people were telling me, they're like, "Wow, you're like really improving. Like you're gonna be able to be on a team, like a pro team soon." Like people were telling me this, and so it came to the point where like I had a decision to make. It was like I can't keep doing everything that I'm doing right now. Like I can't keep doing the UPS. I can't keep doing school and trying to be pro league. Like I said, I skipped over them us being on a team together. So. The Powerhouse. Wait, was the Onslaught before Powerhouse?
Yeah, it would have been.
Oh, I guess I did forget about that.
I can't believe you egoed the new coach of the people.
Easily forgotten.
Wow.
The new coach.
I don't know. Honestly, Onslaught like on PC was like that was honestly a heartbreaking story in itself. I feel like I just kind of erased that from my memory. We were like the first place CL team, and we had to play relegations, and we played against the two teams getting relegated. There was one was Omen, and they were not good. They were like a free win. And then there was Infamy.
My God.
Infamy, which was like Rise.
Omen? Reed was on that Omen team, wasn't he?
I don't really remember who was on. I know Judge was on Omen.
Cookies was on it.
Cookies.
Was he not? Cookies. Yeah, it was like Cookies. Dino.
Yellow.
I think Dino,
Yellow Judge, Cookies.
I think Dino might have been on there.
Judge.
Wait, did Judge play though?
Read the book. Judge, right? A different Read.
Yeah, it was a different Read. Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So Judge
owned it though, right?
Judge was
he owned. He was like a part owner of the org or something. Yeah.
But he didn't play.
Oh, I thought he did.
He played one or two games because somebody couldn't play.
Okay.
Yeah, and T-Merx, that's an old fucking name. Holy smokes, T-Merx. I haven't.
Oh my God, I forgot about him.
That's crazy.
I don't even know who that is. T-Merx.
And then
I remember that name.
Whatever people want to call him.
Name.
Yeah, it's too early for me.
God, I forgot about T-Merx.
But yeah, we played the harder team, which was Infamy, which that was like they turned out to be the Rise Nation. That's what they became. That was like another old Xbox team. It was like Bio, Vandal, Beastly. I can't remember the other guys.
It was
off the top of my head.
Vandal, Easily. It depends on
was Easily on the team? Okay, yeah, Easily, Vert, Vandal, Bio, and Beastly. Okay, so we played them, and they were significantly better. Like they had it tough in the Pro League their season, but like they were definitely much better than and they finished 8th place for whatever reason. They finished 8th place, so we had to play them since we got 1st place. And the 7th place team, which was Omen, was like significantly worse than them. And the team that was 2nd place in CL got to play Omen, which was BX. That was Yeti's team, I think, that played Omen at the time.
Core Impact.
Core Impact. That's what it was called.
Yeah, it was Yeti. Okay. Yeti left Broken Alliance BXA, and he joined Core Impact, which was Tranks. At the time, it was.
Oh, they finished 7th, but I had to group were you were in. Oh, okay.
At the time, Core Impact was Zen, Destiny, Tranks, Gun Havoc, and Temper, and then they dropped Zen and picked up Yeti, got in, and then they went from Core Impact to World's Best Gaming, WBG.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It was just so long ago. Like it's all a blur. Some of it is a blur, you know.
I just remember that because it was the old the first 2 pro teams that I casted in CCS were that Core Impact WBG team and what is now Spacestation, which went through like they went from like Ferocity to Bittersweet to Most Wanted and then to SSG. So yeah. Sorry, keep going.
So yeah, we did not win the relegation match. We lost Infamy. They played really well, and I don't really think we played like ourselves. Like we felt like we were better than what we played, but that was pretty much like as you would call a stack disbander. Like that loss, like pretty much like we like disbanded after that. Pretty much, like the team did not stay. Like I'm pretty sure like everyone like left or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but
was that the epic power struggle of Talon versus Lycan?
Yeah, that's where it all started.
Dude, that was
for
like
sure.
end game. That was like Thanos versus Iron Man.
Yes, man. We're talking about all sorts of rivalries.
It wasn't a, Lycan says it wasn't a thing quite yet, but
yeah, I just remember Talon dropped Lycan, and there was just like at that moment.
Yes, that happened after when they were risky or something, or after risky. But yeah, Crazy and I ended up leaving. Crazy left. He went to go to. I think he joined Infamy, but then it didn't work out or something. So then he joined Powerhouse, and then that's how we ended up on Powerhouse together. That's how it happened.
You guys qualified for CL under some just like random quirky team name, and Talon and Crazy were good friends. Then Talon suggested that I talk to Crazy, and I did, and I was like, "Hey, if you guys don't have an org, you might as well." And he's like, "Okay." Yeah. So that was it.
Okay. So that story is straight there.
There you go.
So yeah, Powerhouse. It was when I had to make the decision: do I want to keep gaming, or do I want to just focus on school and work? You know, and I made the decision to come back to gaming. I ended up quitting UPS, and yeah, I obviously stuck with school. I stuck with school throughout all of this, and just to gaming. Yeah, went back to gaming competitively.
And then that's when you got your chance on INTERRO, right?
Yeah.
Like so after that,
when I came back, when I came back after this break, and I was playing with Powerhouse for a while. This was when I was starting to get good. People were noticing me again, and then yes, I got an opportunity to play with Vertical Gaming, which was a CL team at the time, and this had Bio, Nifty, Remorse, Achieved. I was playing with those guys. They were trying me out. They picked me up to play with them for CL, and I thought they were a really good team when I was playing with them. I really liked the guys when I was playing with them. I had a good time, but we scrimmed against Era, and I remember I had a very, very good scrim against them. Like I dropped like 17 one map, and Seth literally messaged me the map after. Like he DM'd me, added me as a friend. Like it was right there, and then I was like, okay, they're gonna ask me to join. So that was another that honestly sucked because I liked the guys that picked me up on VG. I thought they were a really good team, and it kind of sucked to tell them that I had to leave them or wanted to leave them, but it was an opportunity for Pro League, you know, like I couldn't pass it up. So yeah, Era, they offered me. They just I don't even remember what roles initially they threw me on. It might have been Blackbeard, but I wasn't playing the DMR at this time.
You're on Smoke, I know that.
I was playing Smoke, yeah. I played Smoke for them because they were trying out Cryogen, and I remember, yeah, they put me on.
That's a name I haven't heard in ages. Holy shit.
Yeah, they put me on Smoke, and I was just like a flex roll on attack, which ended up turning into a pretty much permanent Blackbeard pick. I was Blackbeard on like almost every map. I was playing it. And then yeah, that's how it started to kick off for me. You know, when I got onto Era. And
all right, so I think that's a good point for us to begin the discussion about your growth, because that was where the Bosco era began.
Yeah, so it was when I obviously started playing Blackbeard, like, and going off with Blackbeard, I think, was when people, like, really started to notice me. Specifically
I think it was along with your smoke, though, I will say. Like, because I don't remember you ever playing smoke before that. Like, I remember you joined Era, and I was thinking in my head, like, I didn't know a lot about you as a player at the time,
Right.
but, like, I had played against you, and, like, when I play against people a decent amount, like, I make mental note of, like, what I think of them or, like, how they play. And, like, I don't remember you ever playing smoke before that. So when you joined the team, I was curious, like, what you were going to play. And then you played smoke, and you act like you fit really well in the role. And I think that was part of it.
You were on like
'Cause
Jaeger before smoke, weren't you?
No, yeah, I like on Xbox I played like a Sledge Jaeger. Like I was like the soft breach, second entry, and then on defense I was like a roamer. I played Jaeger Bandit. Yeah, back in year one, Bandit would roam a lot for whatever reason. I didn't really play the site though. That was not a thing.
Yeah.
It just kind of. I'm not really sure how it happened. It just kind of ended up happening.
Yeah.
I was on the smoke roll. I got put on it, and then I ended up really liking it. Like it just fit my play style. Like I just fit into the role. Like I didn't have to like change anything. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it didn't take a long time for me to master. Like I mean, mastering smoke, like that's something of itself. Like I can't even say that I have mastered it. You know, and I've been playing it for years now. But I was just genuinely like naturally good at it off the rip. So yeah. And then on the flex roll, you know, on attack, I was playing whatever I want, like whatever was needed. But that ended up transitioning into Blackbeard because Blackbeard was just, it was so strong. The DMR was so strong at the time. It started on Skyscraper because Skyscraper was in the map pool when this first started. And
dreadful.
Yeah. And that's when I was playing Blackbeard a lot. And I remember we were scrimming Rogue, and I was just getting worked on the repels. Like I would be on the repel of that disco window or hookah window, and I would just be getting slammed with that with his AR, whatever it is, the Mark 17 or whatever it's called. I absolutely hated it. I remember complaining. I was like, guys, I don't know what I'm doing, like what to do. Like I can't use this gun. It just sucks. And Rogue was like notoriously very good at Skyscraper. Them and CTM, like which eventually turned into EG. Like those two teams were really good at Skyscraper, and I feel like they were just trolling us. Like they were messing with us in the scrim. Slash just like busted out the DMR one round, like out of nowhere, and got like a 3K with it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, like I'm trying this gun. Like if he just did this, like there's just no way. Like I'm using this gun, the AR anymore. So I tried the DMR, and like, yeah, it was just nasty. And I don't know. I mean, you got a shield in front of your face with a 2-shot rifle. Like, I don't know. I also feel like that kind of just fit into my playstyle. Like I fit into that role very well naturally. Like playstyle wise, I'm not like a super aggressive player. I'm not a primary entry like an Ash whatever Zofia. Like I'm not the person that goes in first. Usually I like to post up in like power positions and try to catch people. You know, make mistakes or peeking that when they shouldn't. And it was just like perfect on that operator. People would always just try to peek, and it was a 2-shot kill. You know, you got a shield in front of your face. So.
Oh, and you did it on so many different maps. You know, I remember Consulate. There was that one Oregon game. The Oregon game was where I said the Bosco Blackbeard win round. Because that was basically your strategy at the time, and I mean it worked. It's just Bosco's on Blackbeard. That's the round for them, and it's just like somebody would peek you, you'd hit them twice, they're dead. Just
Yep.
They're fucked. And how does it feel to be the reason for them to nerf an entire operator's weaponry?
So
the Bosco Blackbeard special.
I just think when I was playing Blackbeard, like it was just like more in the spotlight. It was like more showcased like how broken he was. And that kind of like, you know, like especially during the invitational qualifiers. Like that I remember specifically like when I was on Era, I had like some crazy games with Blackbeard. I had some crazy moments. Like statistically, I also had like really good series, multiple series in that. Yeah, the Blackbeard was just so strong, and I think it just caught it when I was using it. That's all. Like other people did use it. Like I said, Slash is the one that I got the idea from, and I don't even think he was seriously running it. Like, he was not serious. I just don't believe it. Something Slash would do, you know. Slash likes to use those odd guns sometimes.
Yes.
And,
Dude, he was running the G8 on IQ. I remember back when everybody realized like the 5.56 commando was the play, and he's running the G8. We're just thinking this guy's a lunatic. What is he doing?
When he was on LG and we played him in invite quals, he was running Boss G ACOG the whole match.
He's running Dokkaebi Boss G, and he was killing people. Like,
yes.
It doesn't matter. Like, he just like Slash can just get kills no matter what. But yeah, I got the idea from him. I'm sure other people were using the DMR. It just, like I said, it was just showcased how strong it was. Like when I was using it, and then as a result, everyone started to use it, and then as a result of that, it got nerfed. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool that like I was a big part of that, but I mean, same time, it's just one of those things. I guess it just happens. There's been lots of nerfs. Like a lot of people. Like Ella's big nerf, like they were big Ella play, okay, not anyone could play Ella, but there were big moments like where it was just showcased that Ella was just so dumb and so broken, like one I can think of off the top of my head is like Skies. He had a 1v4 on border with Ella. I wasn't on the team, but I just remember watching that and thinking like, wow, this operator's so broken. Like it's her gun is nasty. Like
no better clip than Troy's Ella clip. None exist. I refuse to acknowledge any other Ella clip until the Troy.
I don't know if you've seen that one, Bosco.
I honestly don't. I don't think so.
It's not even a crazy clip. I just literally pre-fire a guy like for the whole mag, and the whole time I'm just saying I'm Ella. Like
he starts on back stairs on skyscraper on black stairs.
I can't find it.
And he's literally he starts shooting the walls because there's 50 bullets, right? He's just tap firing, just blasting everybody, no recoil.
Leaning everywhere.
And then he pre-fires main stairs and gets a kill with like 7 bullets left, and he just goes, I'm Ella. That's it.
It was ridiculous. There was a clip of it, but I had to delete the clip because the DMCA stuff.
It's in a digest.
Oh yeah.
It's in the Pojo Pro digest. I'm trying to remember which one in particular it is. But hilarious clip, by the way.
Yeah,
so I just loves that one too.
So
I remember
good.
I was playing with him, I think, at the time.
Yeah, it's just it's peak Ella. It's like,
yeah, I mean, there were other moments too. Ella was just one of those power operators that people just powered up with them. Like Seth on my team when I was on air, he ran Ella. He was like nasty on Ella. Like he would go off. He would power up. I saw other people. Like I remember there was a Chala. I'm pretty sure. He 1v3'd Elevate with Ella on Skyscraper.
Yes, there was a ridiculous one on Sky.
Yeah.
You would just power up with that operator, with that gun. And it was like a similar thing with Blackbeard, Like I felt like I would just power up having that gun in the shield, like just the combination. Just it's one of those things that like at the end of the day had to be nerfed. So like I'm okay with it, but it's cool that like I got to like really take advantage of it, that people notice me because of it.
Yeah.
Let's run through the teams after you got picked up by Era, because one of the teams that I think there's like this mystique around it is that fabled Obey roster. Okay. Yeah, I remember we talk, I think, too much about super teams. The moment that like a good player joins a new team, it's now a super team. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that G2 importing Virtue, taking the best player off of one of your rivals in Na'Vi, sure, we can call that one a super team, fine. But Obey was the very first time that I remember people actively talking about a super team. Because it's like you've got my man, you bring in Adam, it's Skies, it's yourself. It originally started out as Gurmy on the team, then ended up becoming Benji. And it's just like, that was the first time I remember people dubbing like the super team. And there were, there were crazy Reddit predictions saying that this is going to be the best team in North America, that, you guys are going to be unstoppable, etc. And frankly, the team just didn't live up to those expectations, and you ended up getting relegated. So diagnose it for me, Dr. Bosco. What happened to that Obey team? Why did you never reach the potential that everybody seemed to think you had?
Oh, man. I don't know. It's kind of like a mystery to me as well, because we had like really good players. We had the skill. We just, I don't know. We were not on the same page, like mentally, emotionally. Like There were arguments, disagreements about like not even just like strats, just like just small things. Like we just weren't getting along. In particular after Paris, like up until Paris, we were what you would call a real team. Like we were friends. We would hang out. You know, we would talk about everything. It seemed like you know we were getting along very well. I don't know. After Paris, it just all kind of went downhill. I don't know how to explain it, and it didn't seem like it was in our control. It was like a car rolling down the hill without brakes. Like it just slowly accelerated, and like we couldn't stop it for whatever reason. Without getting too much into detail, like yeah, it was because of people not getting along, and when people weren't getting along, you would see like different sides of people. Like you see like bad sides of people when they're mad, and I just think that it kind of left a sour taste in some people's mouths. They didn't like what they were seeing from their teammates. I'm not going to get into specifics, but it just created this inner turmoil that slowly like it just destroyed the team. Like it had a ripple effect. I remember the first half of Pro League, we didn't even have a good first half. Like we finished like 6th, or I don't even know what place we were in. We were down towards the bottom though, before Paris majors. And then like the major quals came up, and like no one thought we were gonna win. Like no one in their right mind thought we had
period of time.
No one thought we had a chance. I'm pretty sure SK were the favorites back then to make it. Because it was us. SK was really good, and then
Mouse.
That's what they were.
It was Mouse who won.
I know it came down to us and Mouse at the end.
Mouse beat SK.
Oh, what was the other one? Cloud9 or no? They were. It was before they were Cloud9.
I think they were Beast Coast at the time, weren't they?
They were Beast Coast, or were they
Beast Coast?
They could have been Reckless still.
No, Reckless was Invitational. Yeah. So I think they were Beast Coast at this time.
I remember SK.
Well, they were Reckless before Beast Coast.
Yes, and then they got picked up by Beast Coast, and then they played. They played a season of Pro League under Beast Coast, and then they got picked up by Cloud9.
Yep. Paris Major. This was before Paris Major was before Cloud9.
Yes, and it was
they were Beast Coast, I think.
I just remember the top 2 teams that a lot of people were talking about at that particular time were SK and Mouse was starting to heat up. Mouse did that weird thing where they had a garbage first half and then looked unbeatable in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did that 2 seasons in a row where it was like they had the second best record in NA through the second half of like season 8 and season 9.
Yeah.
But it was too late because they were just so bad the first half.
Yeah.
I remember the winners finals was SK versus Mouse, and everybody's saying, "Oh, SK is going to take it," and then SK throws one of the biggest choke jobs I've ever seen. Mouse just crushes them. SK goes down to the losers bracket and then loses to you guys, and then you guys end up playing Mouse. And despite the fact that Mouse had an advantage, you steamrolled them. I don't think you dropped a single map. I think you went 3-0 against them.
We did. It wasn't even close. The hardest series of that qualifier was actually against SSG. They were SSG at the time. I don't think they were like a favorite to win by like the public, but they were we beat them third map 7-6 or something. Like literally.
Was Rampy on the team at that time?
No.
No.
Rampy was still on Noble, right?
I don't think Rampy was. No,
Rampy would have been on the team.
Yeah, Rampy was on the team.
Yeah, because he left Noble right after DreamHack Austin. And then
it was Rampy. They had Rampy Shuttle, Redeem Chala, Nade.
Yeah,
it was when they had Rampy and Shuttle. And when I remember when they first picked up Rampy and Shuttle, they were. This was like after DreamHack Austin. They were like nasty. Like they were a nasty team. And they were nasty when they played against us. I remember that clubhouse game so well. Like it came down to 6-6, and Benji, like, I don't know how Chala's like in rafters by the 90, putting down an ADS or something, and like his head, because he like moved when he was crouched, like popped up above the rafter, and Benji just one-tapped him with Blackbeard, killed him. They lost their rafter player like really early in the round, like off just some lucky pick, and we ended up just taking rafters right away and like winning the round pretty significantly. Like it was pretty significantly. And then we played SK after them. And
That's
SK was like, SK beat us. They were the team that beat us the first time. They destroyed us the first time they played us. We played them the second time. We destroyed them. Wasn't even close. It it was like a complete 180 from the first time we played them. Not really sure how that.
That was when SK was their biggest criticism, was that if they didn't have a long enough period of time to counter strat, they would just fall apart. If you remember, it was like they'd be great in like a best of one shootout, but then it was like in a longer series, they wouldn't be able to, I think, settle in. And the other big knock against them was that when they mentally fell apart, that was it. Like they were done.
Yeah.
And I think that losing to Mouse like just absolutely crippled them. Like they lost that Mouse match, and it was just they were done at that point.
It was good that we got to play them right after that.
Yeah,
because they were definitely like upset. I'm sure they were definitely upset about it.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, like us losing to them first didn't really hurt us that much. Like knowing like the team that we were a pretty emotional team. Like we actually like powered up after it somehow. I'm not really sure how. I couldn't tell you, but like it just happened. Like we just started playing better Siege afterwards, and yeah, we powered through. Like we played, what was that team with? It was Bittersweet, I think. They were also a team that was with
one of the
when
most
Gotcha was playing.
infamous casts of all time.
We played them before we played SSG. I remember it was like 4 a.m. when we had to play them. Like those quals were crazy. It was
what is this?
a real bloodbath.
What's the Troy quote? What is this? Some 4:30 a.m. shit,
bro. That match was something. My favorite part about it, honestly, was giving Gotcha shit on Twitter. He didn't want to play anymore, and I was like, "Make him play, make him play." Gotcha's like, "I got work in the morning." I was like, "Fuck you, grind."
That was when Young was in a great state of mind, and was casting.
Yes.
It was like Jordan, you, me, easily, and Young.
Slash was there too.
Slash was there briefly. Okay. And that was like the fabled Paris quals. Yeah, the BS versus Obey one, at dumb shit o'clock, where it's like they had to play till like 5 a.m.
It was bad.
I was going to bed because I was in Poland, so I'm 6 hours ahead, and I was going to bed. And I just remember both you and Jordan reached out to me and we're like, "You got to cast this. Let's cast this. Let's cast this." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Fuck, man! It's like it's starting at like 10 p.m. It's 4 a.m. I need to go to bed. I have casting to do tomorrow." "Oh, they're only gonna play like 1 or 2 matches. It's fine." We went until it was like fucking 1 p.m. for me. I was like, "How does this happen?"
Good times.
Yeah, Alex in the chat says, who would have thought that the Paris quals would be infinitely more entertaining than the actual Paris major? Though the Obey Rogue match was probably the best match, I would say.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one.
The most heartbreaking match. One of the most heartbreaking matches I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Our match against Rogue was pretty good too.
The Fnatic Nip one was pretty good. The Millennium they would have been G2 at the time. The Millennium G2 one, or was it Mocket G2? They smoked G2 on Villa 6-0. That was a good series as well. Yeah, that was a good series too.
Yeah, that was when like no one thought G2 like played Villa at all. Like everyone thought they sucked at it or something.
Yeah.
They just come out and 6-0 them.
Yeah. So this Obey roster, the question I have is, if the mood soured, as you say it did, why were there no roster moves? Like, why not drop? Like, it's very common after a LAN event.
Timing, right? Like, because you guys just did good at Paris, so you wouldn't.
Yeah, we did pretty good at Paris. Yeah.
And then I think the next transfer window after that was when you guys got relegated.
Yeah, I don't really think there was an opportunity to
Okay, so when did it sour then? Because you said it was after Paris. How soon after that loss to Rogue was it?
That's like pretty much like when it soured. Like just after Paris, like things were just going. It was just going downhill. Like that was the peak. Like we played the best Siege we've played as a team there. Getting out of the groups like the way that we did. We were in a tough group. I don't think anyone thought we were gonna make it out with Liquid, Vitality,
Nora, Rengo,
and Vitality.
Yeah,
that was Vitality was like.
And Nora was good at the time.
Nora, Rengo was very good.
It was
Liquid
a good
were
group.
Excellent, and then Liquid just blew up.
Yeah. There was a group that was harder than ours. I think it might have been your group, Troy.
No, that was the easiest group I've ever had.
That was EG, Element, Mystic, and Immortals.
Okay, it was a different group
with
then.
Millennium. I think
I normally have really hard groups at a major, but that one. That was not the case.
I'm thinking of Raleigh. You guys had a tough one.
The hardest group was probably it was Fnatic, Nip, G2, and somebody else. I think
Mock it would have been the other.
Mock
team.
it. So I think that was the group. I think it was, and then no, the other group that everybody's talking about is like the Rogue Secret Phase group. That's
it was that one. It was
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
that's
like
the one.
it was like Orglis.
And
It was
who's the left one?
Orglis, Secret, Phase, Rogue.
Wait, who was Orglis at the time?
That was the German team, because Mock it at the time was the French team with Panics and all that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That was the French Mocket, and then Orglis was the team with KS on it and Hungary, and
And that was Phase with Gohan still.
Phase with Gohan, and then it was Rogue and Secret, and it was it was that group. That was Group D, I think. That was like Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't think anyone thought we were gonna make it out of there. The way we did, and then Rogue, like, arguably, you can't say we should have won. I don't like saying that. But like, losing both maps by 1 round in overtime, like, it could have gone either way. You know?
No, it very easily.
And the first map, I literally traded with the last guy. Like,
It was Eclipse, right?
yes.
You were in office. He swung out a blue diffuser down. You traded. He died.
Yeah.
Objective was still down.
Like,
Technically,
I can still, like, just distinctly remember the emotion, like, and how, like, it just changed in a matter of a second. Like, I was like, because on my screen, like, I see that I kill him, and I was like cheering, but then, like, the millisecond or whatever it is, and then I die, and then, like, instantly it's just from, like, being excited to, like, no fucking way. Like, how does this happen?
and Coastline
like-
was the series too, right? That was map 2.
No, that was map
No,
one.
Was that map
Clubhouse
one?
was second map.
Yeah.
No, map, yes, and it was devastating. You don't ever really see trades on LAN either, like, because
No,
LAN is like the
pretty
game
rare.
is like really good. Like, we really had to have like clicked at the same time, like on each other's head, like the exact moment. It's crazy. And then Clubhouse, it's another barn burner. We go 6-6. We lose the last round. Like, it was heartbreaking. Like, we thought we really wanted to beat them. I know that I know Skies, like, in particular, really want to beat them because he was playing against old teammates. We all really wanted to beat them, obviously. I just know it was like more of a grudge match for some than others. So that loss, like, hit us hard for sure, and we felt like we should have won. We felt like that's what we felt, even though, like I just said, I don't like saying that, but like, we felt like that win was ours. We just didn't close it out. So, for whatever reason, in some people's minds, they are coming, they're coming to terms with the loss in their own way, like trying to come up with reasons in their head, like why it happened, who did what wrong, who's at fault where. So I think that might have also played a part in it. It was kind of like, I can't speak for people because I'm not living in their head, but like, I feel like some people might have just been mentally playing the blame game, and that kind of may have started like the tensions between some people. It wasn't like all 5 of us were just fighting. Like, that's not what happened. Like, we were still a team. I just think I think after Paris, a roster change was wanted by some people, and we couldn't make it happen. And then we ended up getting relegated, so we never got to make it happen. I do think that if we didn't get relegated, we probably would have made a change. I don't know what. We didn't talk about it, but I could say with a lot of certainty that probably would have happened.
Not even
to.
just a necessary one. There probably would have been people leaving the team regardless of whether they would have gotten dropped, right? Like,
I don't know. It's hard to say,
Yeah.
Like, but it's more, like, it's like some people weren't happy with others, and like, as a result, some people weren't happy being on the team. Like, it just wasn't a constructive environment anymore. Like, there was more hostility, more negativity. So yeah, some people in particular definitely did not like it. I mean, even me, like, I remember I try really hard to control my emotions when it comes to stuff like this, especially within the team. Like, business is business. I try to keep it like strictly, business, but like, I've lost it like a couple times on teammates. I have. I've blown up a couple times. It's hard to believe, but
Troy
it's
laughing
happened.
right now.
And it actually did happen with them. No, I mean, no one on this team has heard it really. It's only happened
I've
a
heard
couple
it
times. You've heard it?
on Powerhouse that one time after your CCS match.
I don't know. I don't
You guys
remember
played a
that.
CCS match, and I popped into the voice channel just to listen to your comms. And there was I heard the Bosco anger.
It comes out sometimes for sure. I try my best to not let it come out though.
It was
But
entertaining. I thought.
I was just saying like, yeah, I was just saying that it happened to me as well. Like on that team, like it happened to everyone. Like it was just a mental struggle being on that team. After Paris, like I don't know, it just defeated us mentally. It was like losing that series the way that we did. Just like, yeah, it was the stack disbander. It had this ripple effect, and then we had a terrible second half of Pro League. Like, and there's no excuses for how we played. Like, I feel like we just didn't have the same motivation. The second half, we didn't prep the same for matches. We did a terrible job at prepping. Like, I remember we played against. I don't know if they were Cloud9 at this time. They might have been. They might have been because it was after Paris where they became Cloud9, right?
Yeah, because they got their first LAN as Cloud9. I think was DreamHack Montreal. I think was their first one. Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't get to go to DreamHack Montreal. That's another thing. We didn't go to that. Like,
Yeah.
You were the
There
only
was just,
NA
like-
team that didn't go, if I remember
like-
correctly.
I don't really know why. We just like none of us signed up. Like I signed us up like 20 minutes after it opened up, and it was no chance. It was already done. Like
I got
everyone had
to
already
see
gotten
the
their spot.
spreadsheets at ESL as to how quickly the team signed up, and it was like the first 12 to sign up got in, and then the other
Yeah.
4 came in through BYOCs, right? There was
Yeah.
one, I can't remember which one it was, but Fnatic was like 13th, and they signed up something like 7 minutes after it went live, and that was good enough for 13th.
Yeah.
That's
so there
how
was no
fast
chance.
those spaces got taken
yeah.
up.
No, you
They
gotta
got
be quick.
they would get taken fast, and like
Yeah.
we just weren't on top of it. Like that just shows where our motivation was at as a team. Like none of us like even like took the initiative. Like I remember like waking up and thinking like, oh fuck, we gotta sign up, and then like I just went and did it. Like, but it was too late, and I mean I could. It sucked like getting to miss that because like you want to go to events and compete, and that's what it's all about. But like I can honestly say like it felt like we didn't care. Like that's just how it felt. So like the environment of the team just wasn't like it wasn't a winning environment anymore. It wasn't a positive environment. The mood, the vibes, whatever you would say about it.
You did qualify for USN though, but then
Like it,
Yes, but I don't
there was
think
that
like
there was that weird situation with Benji where it's like you were playing in USN and then you had to. Who did you play with in his place, or you couldn't play with somebody in his place because you benched him, and then
so yeah.
Ken's had to play or something? Somebody
Well,
had to
that
play?
was in
with
Pro
Snake
League.
one time, right?
I'm trying to remember the
Played with
timeline.
Snake in a qualifier one time, right?
Maybe we
USN
played
qual?
with we did play with Snake in a qual, but that was because my power went out.
Oh, okay.
My power went out mid game, or it was like in the second round we were playing. I remember second round, my
Yeah.
power went out and Snake subbed in, and I don't think they won. I don't think they won that game with Snake. I don't remember.
No, I swear they won the game. with
Maybe they
Snake.
did win. I just
I remember they played Coastline.
I
swear
remember
they won.
Coastline. Did they win Coastline? I thought they lost it. I
Maybe.
remember like the clip of like Snake in the 1v1.
And it was against like Yeti, right? It was against Yeti's team. I don't remember. It's hard to
Yeah,
remember.
it was Yeti's team. It was. I remember it was those guys. I don't remember what team they were
Yeah.
at the time. But yeah, we that wasn't the game where we qualified though. I don't think.
Okay.
I
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I
There were so
forgot- I
many.
forgot
There were so
that.
many USN qualifier
Yes.
matches. Like I don't remember. Like
That used to be the
I'll just-
fucking gauntlet, by the way.
okay, so they did win the match, but they lost. They lost Coastline, but they ended up winning the match. Okay.
Okay, that's what it
Okay.
was.
But yeah, in terms of like Benji, that was like during Pro League. That was like during our decline. You know, like.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I
Like
remember what
this
you
was the second half. We're going through. We're like 4 games in. Like we're losing every game, tying whatever. We're not even like looking good at all. Some people were more unhappy than others. There was pressure to make it like there was obviously like a change was wanted. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we felt that Ben just wasn't what we really needed from a player. Ben was a very, very young and inexperienced player, but very, very talented, had a lot of potential. But we were kind of like at the point mentally where it was like, we don't want, like, we feel like we should already be up at the top. Like, we don't want to like try and build up there. Like, it kind of like sounds bad, but that's like the
You
best
were
way I
in
could
win now
describe
mode.
it.
You weren't trying to nurture new talent.
We were, yeah, and like winning was like obviously all that mattered, and we were not even close to winning. So like drastic measures were being taken, and it was honestly a mistake. Like I can speak to it. Like us putting in Ken's for Benji, like we put in Ken's. He was our coach. He played for Benji for one of our games, and like it didn't go well either way. Like, and that was just a mistake. There was no reason to like take Ben out and bench him the way that we did. And it was just for one game. Like we asked him to come back afterwards, and he did. And we could have handled that situation a lot better.
I remember when Kix and I were informed, because I'm pretty sure we casted the match where Benji had been benched, and we were told literally last minute, like, hey, Benji's not playing today. He's been benched. They're going to have Ken's playing or something like that. And we were like, I just remember we were sitting at the desk and production says this in ears, and we both just kind of looked at each other and we're like, what the fuck are they thinking? Like,
yeah,
I get right now that like Obey doesn't look like they can win anything, but like what on like Ken's a great guy, but it's like, what do you like? That's a sure like you're no offense to Ken's, but it's like he's been out of the game so long. You're basically playing a 4v5. Like what is going on? Like, so it led us to think that it was like a personnel conflict, right?
That's what I mean by like drastic measures. Like we're this is the second half of the split. We're approaching relegations. We're losing. We're about to end up in the relegation spot. So we're like panicking. I think that also kind of influenced the decision. We're like, we got to do something because whatever we're doing isn't working. Like we just have to do something. We have to change something. And
yeah, that makes sense.
For whatever reason, we thought like we were like, okay, we'll throw Ken's in. Like he can do the job for this match. Like while I figure stuff out. Like. But it just didn't work out like the way that we thought. And like obviously this is a hindsight 2020 thing, like, but it was a mistake, a big mistake. There was no reason for us to bench him. Like it's completely okay with not being with not wanting to team with someone anymore. Like that is a completely okay thing and a thing that happens frequently in this business, but the way that we handled it was wrong. And it didn't help us at all, obviously. Like it just made things more awkward, if anything, because we brought him back for the last 2 games or whatever, and I mean we didn't even play bad. We played EG for the last game. We tied them on Oregon, which was their best map. I mean, obviously they already qualified for the LAN, and the match didn't mean much to them, but like it meant a lot to us because we were fighting for our relegation spot. If we ended up winning that, we wouldn't have gotten relegated. It's just how it happened. We ended up tying.
You also got relegated under very fascinating circumstances.
Yes, which.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say that. Well, they were very interesting. Let's just say
that's another thing. Like
it was a hell of a time for Beastly to start playing Ashe, and Vertical to start playing Blackbeard or whoever it was. Like I'd never.
They obviously didn't care about the game either. It didn't matter to them whatsoever. And at this time, we weren't a very favored team. People didn't really like us. People didn't really like Skies in particular for whatever reason. There was like a period of time where like everyone was like anti Skies, which was like I don't really know why. It's just how it was, and we feel like we were kind of cheated. Like not going to get too into detail with this, obviously, but that was like just the nail on the coffin. Is like the last straw. Like obviously the team was relegated, and we weren't going to like stick together, but like. Because obviously everyone has like aspirations to be a pro league player. No one on that team wanted to stay through Challenger League. Like,
yeah,
got a lot of big name players, a lot of good players. Yeah, we just decided to go our separate ways. And like, if you got an opportunity, like I got opportunities that I'll talk about in a little bit, and I'm sure other people like had some opportunities or decisions they had to make. Like Skies, he decided to sit back and take a little bit of a break for a little while.
Yeah.
Everyone was just kind of like Sam, my man. He took a little bit of a break as well.
He didn't take a little bit of a break. He's still gone.
Well, he came back and he was playing with Noble for a little while. He played with those guys for a little while.
He only played like 2 games with Noble, right?
Yeah. After that, he was gone. But Yeah.
He's been gone since. Like he hasn't used Twitter.
He's gone now. I've talked to him. I've talked to him a little. Not that long ago, I talked to him briefly, but he's just working and playing Valorant, casual stuff. He's not. Yeah.
I always liked Sam, and I'm bummed that he left. And I know that Troy in private conversation was very high on Sam as well.
I miss Sam. He was a very good player, very good person, nice dude, like good friend. Sucks that he left, but some people they just
We're talking about my man, by the way, for those
Yeah.
that are curious. Sam is my man.
My man.
Yeah.
He was a very good player, underrated player in my opinion. Like he probably a lot of people knew he was good, but he wasn't didn't think of him as like a star player. But I really think he was like a star player. Like he was very talented. I just don't think he got to show it as much as he could have. That's all.
I think so too.
I always liked Sam. Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's safe to look back on that Mouse Noble matchup and say a couple things. First, your team didn't deserve to get relegated over that Noble squad. I mean, as a caster, you have to remain impartial, and I know that you guys were obviously having struggles, but from watching an entire season of Pro League, you weren't a worse team than Noble. Sometimes that's one of the downsides of auto relegation is it's just like you're fucked, right? And yeah, perfect example or perfect counter argument is that you had the time to win one more game all season and avoid that spot, and you couldn't, and it got left into the hands of Mouse. And at that point, I think it's pretty safe to say that whether they were directly throwing or not, they couldn't have given two fucks about that match. And if they pop in and they get like 4 kills and they go, they leave to go play Destiny faster, they don't really give a shit. So it's a free win for Noble.
Yeah, I mean they're fighting for everything. Noble's fighting for everything to stay in the Pro League. Their Mouse had solidified 3rd, 4th place, whatever. A win would not have changed the standings for them whatsoever. Wouldn't have increased their prize pool or the prize money being spent to them. So the game literally just meant nothing to them. And I think that's a flaw in just the system. A game that important shouldn't just mean nothing. When it impacts the future of another team. All of us lost our jobs. It was a big deal.
Auto relegation sucks ass. Yeah. So I mean, that's the big thing.
It sucked because both of those games, like Obey was playing against EG, and the match didn't matter for us other than bragging rights or
that was on Oregon. That was when you tied 6-6. Yeah. And EG staged a comeback, didn't they? Obey was in the lead, if I remember.
I don't remember.
I thought you did run it back. I thought it was
it could have been.
I thought Obey was on match point for 2 rounds and they choked it. And I was I was even thinking to myself as a caster, I get it, but EG has no incentive to bring this back. Just let Obey have the win.
Yeah.
Just let him have it. I know that's not a popular thing, but it's who gives a shit? And I was kind of surprised because I'm pretty sure.
Say at the time we were also kind of on board the not big fan of Skies train. So we wanted to beat him.
Like I said, every team
that was part of our motivation was we wanted to beat Skies. We genuinely wanted to relegate Skies. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's how everybody felt.
Skies even knows this. Skies has changed a lot, by the way, and all this shit is water under the bridge, and he knows that. But that's how a lot of people were at the time. We wanted to relegate them. I will say though, we didn't play with match intensity, and that's just a thing. You'll know this if you compete. Is it felt like a scrim, kind of in terms of our team's energy and intensity. We played well, we worked together, we were trying to win, we were trying to make the right calls and stuff, but not the same intensity. And I think that is a flaw in the system. Like Bosco's saying, you shouldn't have matches like that where one team it's they're playing for the world, and the other team it doesn't even fucking matter, right?
Yeah. I will say this. I've always been very close with Skies since the beginning, and it was interesting observing as an outsider to a certain extent, because I'm not in scrims, I'm not in matches, I'm not in any of the Xbox chats, I'm not privy to the gossip that goes on behind the scenes, and it was always striking how it's just public perception proceeded to get worse, and then he had his revenge tour, and since then has managed to patch up every single poor relationship, and is in a remarkable comeback story. And I think it's something that we touched on when we were casting, Kix and I, as well, because we try to keep that shit out of our casts. Like, if everybody hates, Jeff, we're not going to talk about that necessarily in the cast unless it matters to the match at hand. So it's really tough for us to address, but at the same time, like, we kind of wanted to talk about that because it was a storyline during like the last couple Obey matches, was that the general sentiment among a lot of North America was like, let's relegate Skies. It'll be hilarious. And like that is something to talk about, but we were kind of hesitant because you don't really know how to bring it up without coming across as like mean. Right. But since then we decided to lean the other way, which is that as we call it the Skies Revenge Tour as a joke about the England Revenge Tour that it was dubbed. The Skies Revenge Tour was something that we talked about a lot because it's a much more uplifting, wholesome story. And now it's, as Troy pointed out, like, that's water under the bridge, and it feels like ages ago.
It really does.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it really does. And that's just kind of how it was. Like, that's just one of the many things that we've talked about, that like it was just like a melting pot of things like that caused the downfall, like there was just so much that we just talked about. Like, every single one of them just played their own role in like us going our separate ways and getting relegated, yeah, it's a team that I don't think our performance and our record like reflected how good we actually were. I think if there was an auto relegation, we would have come back the next season stronger and shown
What was the team that made it in off of that auto relegation again?
I'm not sure.
Fuck, which one was it? EXG. Yeah, that was it. It was achieved in bio.
Yeah. So that team that I was on, I was trying out with them along, before era.
Yeah.
So they got to make it in.
Do you think you would have?
Which they deserved it too. Those guys.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had to played EXG in a best of 3, at that point in time, with the mindset that you had after having benched Benji, bringing him back, the team was ready to implode. Even if you don't get auto relegated, do you beat EXG in a best of 3?
I don't know. I mean, they were a good team. It would have been. It's impossible to say that kind of thing. I will say that after we brought Ben back, we kind of had like a really good team moment. Like, we had a good team talk when we brought him back, and like explained all of our issues with him and like why we came to that decision. It was just like kind of everyone airing everything out. It was like really good, and we all felt like really good afterwards going into the last couple games, and I don't know, it was the way it ended, like getting auto relegated. Like, we didn't get to showcase, like I said, the team that we actually were. And when we brought Ben back and after we had that talk, we were very positive. I think we were playing better. I think we showed that against EG. Like, we didn't play badly against them, even though they weren't at their full intensity. We didn't play badly at all. I remember it ended up, like, I think we were up 5-4, and then you guys ended up getting up 6-5. And it was like, when that happened, we like knew. We're like, all right, well, we got to fight for this tie. And I think we ended up winning the last round. I think it was on Dining. We were defending Dining, and we ended up winning it.
Yes. There was some miscommunication that round. I remember.
Oh,
I forget what happened, but me and Gia lost full after that.
No, I something happened in showers. I killed someone like in a weird way in showers. I remember that round, like in Small Tower. But yeah, like, we were like really proud of like tying those guys. Like, EG was like just the best at that time, and
yeah.
And then we had to sit there and watch the Noble Mouse match afterwards,
which was the last match of the day.
Yeah. So it was like,
what a fucking sour note that was to just end, the whole season on. Like, I was just, dude, Kix was fucking furious. Kix was like unable to cast because of what was happening in that match.
It was heartbreaking, And that was just, like I said, it was just the last. It's like, all right, well, this was just. It seemed like it was meant to happen. Honestly, it seemed like with everything that happened to us, it seemed like it was just meant to happen. Like,
yeah,
and it did. And it sucks, but that's just part of the journey. Like, if that didn't happen, I don't know if I'd be here where I am right now today. Like, or it's just how it goes.
All right,
Got to
so
roll with the punches.
perfect time to talk about post obey, because this is a part of the story that is kind of absent from most people's public consciousness. What happens after obey?
So, after obey, we were obviously like I considered like what I considered before, taking another break or whatever, stepping away, whatever. Like it's just like, well, do I do this now? Like I'm out of pro league. Do I really want to play Challenger League? Like, is it worth it? Like with college and everything. It was just like a lot of questions that I was weighing in my mind, and um, it was a little different though. Like I knew at this point, like I was really good. Like before, when I took a break, like I was more unsure about like my position on PC, like my skill on PC. So it was like easier to kind of like make that decision. But like now it was like, okay, I know I'm like a really good player. Like I played really well with Obey. I even like went into different roles with Obey. Like I started playing more of a support role and having more of a voice in like the pushes, like helping with the IGLing. And I was able to do that pretty well as well. And I was like, okay, well, I can pretty much play any role. I pretty much played any role at this point. Like I've gone through almost everything by the time I was on Obey. So I knew that I was capable to keep going, and I wanted to. So I decided to make like an LFT post. We decided on Obey that we weren't going to go Challenger League. We were all going to just investigate other options. We were like, if anyone gets a pro league offer, take it. We're all telling each other. And then I made the post, and I ended up getting a couple different offers. So So what people don't know is that Cloud9 is the other team that hit me up. This was back when
the fabled minus laxing plus laxing.
Yeah, this is back when they had some inner turmoil on Cloud9 with laxing. I don't know what was going on. I tried out with them for laxing spot. It had nothing to do with like me replacing laxing. Like they had already benched laxing at this point. Like they had already had their problem with him. So I wasn't the only person they hit up, I'm sure, but I tried out with them first, and I could just I don't know. It's like one of those things where you just like you feel it in your gut, that like this really isn't the right fit. And I could tell that it was like a mutual thing. Like the way that they played at the time was more more wild, I guess you could say. Like they were just like a team that like not like crazy like running out, jumping out on everybody, but like just it was more unorthodox like their strats. Like it was just more of like doing your own thing and improvising on your own.
It was very loose.
Yeah, very loose. That's a good way to describe it.
It was almost like watching individuals play. There was one bank match where it felt like every single person on that team was entering from a different part of the map, and they just all got picked off one by one, and you're like,
I don't know. I think they were a good team and had a lot of good players. I just think it was a different type of play style. And I didn't really feel like I fit in well with that kind of play style. It wasn't really my type of siege. I like the more structured, more strat heavy, strat oriented, like less need for taking risks. Like that's how I like to play siege. Like I like siege being played like if you do what you're supposed to do the right way, it minimizes the risk against you and like increases the chance for a solidifying round win. Whereas like they're like making more plays at risk, like I don't know, like peeking things that they shouldn't be peeking or hitting a flank that they like most people wouldn't expect. Like stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure I could feel that they felt the same way, that I didn't really fit in with that play style. I mean, they still wanted me because they had to get a player, and like I was a good available option. I do not think that me replacing Lax was the right move. And I remember when they were trying me out, I even commented, I was like, I'm not sure if me for Lax is like gonna work out. Like I don't think that's like gonna help like the answer. But I still tried out anyways just to see, And then so Lycan ended up messaging me as well. And Lycan, he knew me from back when I was playing on Onslaught with Crazy and Talon. Like Lycan was
you
on
mean the
that
team that you played with him on that you forgot about?
Yeah. That team.
When you egoed him earlier.
But yeah, he ended up messaging me. He had experience with me as a player. He knew like what kind of player I was, and he thought that I would fit in well for what they were looking for. And yeah, they replaced Brian for That was it.
Hmm.
And I instantly, like the first tryout scrim with them, I knew that it was going to be a good fit. Like I fit into the type of siege that they were trying to play very well. It just felt natural, like I don't know. And we were all getting along really well. Like I really liked all the guys on the team. I know some of like Chala and Redeem aren't on the team anymore, but like both of those guys are incredible guys. I love both those guys. They were a lot of fun to team with. It sucks kind of like, how things have ended up between us, but that's just how, the nature of the business. But yeah, fit in really well with them, and it was like kind of like a no-brainer, like that gut feeling that I should pick SSG. And this was back when C9 had the invite spot because they won DreamHack Montreal. So like it was yet another another situation where like I kind of had to make a hard decision. Like I could have joined them, gone to the Invitational, or I could have joined SSG to like and
Hope we
fight through
qualify.
qualifiers, like hope we make it. But I knew and felt that they were the better team, and I was right. I mean, I feel like I made the right decision. We ended up qualifying, anyways.
That's when you earned the title of the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, I have played in every single major qualifier up until this one. This online major is like the first, like even though it sucks because yet again, like the one, it's funny. So like every major I've had to qualify for, right? So when you win invitational, you automatically, at least in the old system, you would automatically qualify for the next major. So like it's funny that the one that when I finally get to win invitational, there isn't a next major to qualify for. Like you have to qualify for it anyways. Well, this sucks. It's like, all right, I was looking forward to not having to play 4 a.m. qualifier matches.
You guys, there's more to this story, but I'll tell you guys just this. When we heard that we don't get the invite, there's more that kind of added on to it. But when we heard that we didn't get the invite, Rampy goes, "We won invite for nothing. It was all for nothing."
It's not the money or the world championship or whatever all Randy thinks about. That's all he cares about is another opportunity.
There was more to it than that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a joke. We even still say
world
to this
champs,
day,
who
like,
gives
all for
a
nothing,
shit?
Rampy. All for nothing,
nothing. One invite for nothing.
But
good God.
Yeah, and then this major, we qualify for, like, just because finishing top 3, in the new system, we automatically qualify for it, so I don't have to play qualifier. But it happens to be online, which like just kind of sucks,
I never thought I'd hear somebody complain about not having to play quals.
Well, I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm just saying it's just funny how like it works out. Like, yeah.
I'll never forget a
That's
conversation that Troy and I had when the quals were going on back in, was it 2000? It was 2018. It was the quals online, and you were on EG at the time, Troy, and you'd got the invite because you'd played in Sao Paulo, and you were like, that was when there was the break. If you remember, we used to have a break. Pro League would stop in November and would come back in February or March. I remember we were in Montreal for a playtest, and you're like, dude, I'm so fucking bored. We might just create a second team and play in the quals for fun.
Yeah, it was when you guys had to like play the ladder to get into the bracket for the qualifiers.
Yeah,
like you had to play, because the thing was that the break happened, and then everybody was grinding that qualifiers ladder, so no one was scrimming at all.
Yeah,
so we had nothing to do, and we were
I remember that.
We were like, we should just make second accounts, make a team, and just play the quals just so we can practice.
Yeah.
But
I remember we were like that was when we were walking to the brunch place that was closed because of the snowstorm. And I'm freezing my ass off, like minus 35, snow blowing up to my ankles. And I'm like, this man's complaining that he has to, like, he can't play in qualifiers. I was like, he is a certified lunatic. At that exact moment, I was like, I've seen it all now. So
I wanted to play, man. I was bored.
Yeah, you guys couldn't practice, like,
against
good teams. Like, you would, if you wanted to practice, it would be against teams that are going to potentially stream your scrims. I actually had a team like that on Obey. We scrimmed a team because we couldn't find one or got canceled on. They legit streamed our scrim, and like all the pros were in the stream just watching and like just finding it a joke, telling this guy like, "What are you doing?" And I remember the guy's like comment was like, "Oh, it's a free country. I could do whatever I want." Like, oh, okay, man. Like, you don't do this, man.
I remember when I did this was back the 2018 quals. So this was when there was virtually zero community casters. It was like I think Tamies and I were the only community casters, and I went to cast. This is when Infamy became Bird University. If I remember, they were Bird University at the time.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
they did that for a short time. Yeah.
I can't remember. They might have been Bird University later on, but anyway, I remember I was casting one of their matchup and another team, and I don't remember who the other team was. And like at the time, whoever was like the coach or whatever of the team reached out to me and was like, "Can you delete the VOD that you streamed of our match?" And I was like, "No, why?" And they're like, "Well, it's unfair that we have VODs but other teams don't." And I was like, "So go complain to ESL to hire more community casters, or go complain to the community casters." "No, I'm not deleting your VOD. Fuck off." And I was just like, and then it irritates me as a caster because like I get it, teams don't want to be scrimmed or streamed when they're playing these matches. Fine. But we kind of had the same thing that just happened with Face It, and it bubbled back to the surface, and it really pisses me off when teams know better, but they still try to wiggle their way out of getting casted. It's just like,
Yeah.
if you want to be a top team and you want to play at this level, you are going to get streamed at some point. So shut the
Yeah.
fuck up and just accept it. And if you're good enough, like G2 were the most dominant team we've ever seen for 2 years. And here, I hate to break it to you, all their matches were streamed. So clearly it didn't give them a disadvantage. So like, just shut up and get streamed. And it just
Like,
drives me up the wall.
I mean, it's obviously there's a small disadvantage. Like when your game is streaming, someone else's isn't. But like, you deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not that extreme though. Like if you're good enough, yeah, exactly. Like if you're good enough, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Like,
Or if you're certain teams, you just don't have strats.
Yeah.
It is tough in quals though, I will say, because it's like day-to-day prep.
Yeah.
So like if you're prepping for a team, like let's say it's like the third day of quals or something, and you're prepping for a team that hasn't been streamed, but then your matches have been streamed. Now they have like, you can't make new shit, like new strats, like in that kind of time. So
Mhm.
it hurts in that case, but like a lot of cases you could be fine.
So I want to move us on because I figure we'll probably go for another hour or so. There's like 2 or 3 more topics I want to get to, and then we have questions, obviously. And the one I want to talk about now is SSG. You've actually been with this team for quite a while, and this is one that Troy can really take the lead on here. But you talked about your role on Xbox being roaming. You were you were a fragger. You played Jaeger and Bandit on defense. You even said that yourself, Sledge on attack. And then slowly but surely, you kind of morph into a flex player around your time on Era. You filled whatever role was needed on Obey. The old joke about Obey was that it was a team full of fraggers with no support players. And now you play that same flex role, but you have adopted more of a backseat role, regardless of what operator you're playing, as you and Canadian are like the veteran presence on SSG. And the question is just how much of a change has it been? And how have you adapted to it? Was it something that you wanted? Is it an ego thing? Because people like the flashy plays. Are you okay with taking the less sexy roles and just helping the team?
I mean, yeah. I don't really know if anyone knows this, but like, it was pretty much my decision to do this, to go on to the roles that I am. When I first joined SSG and they first picked me up, I was the Ashe main. I played Ashe for them. If you guys remember, at DreamHack Winter, I was playing Ashe. And it was like the most fun I've ever had in competitive. Getting droned in with like an operator like Ashe and just fragging everyone, so fun. Most fun I've ever had. I never played that role before, and while I had fun and did well, at the end of the event, I felt like it was not what was best for the team. We had a team talk when we lost and didn't make the invitationals. We lost to Penta at the time, and I think it was Penta at the time.
Yeah, it was
and
Penta.
yeah, when we didn't make it, it was heartbreaking because we were like, fuck, we came so close. Like we played so well here against all these European teams. Like it was like a big moment for us, especially because they just picked me up and it was our first LAN together. It was like a good statement to make, and I at the end of it when we were talking, I was like, look, I think we should change up the roles. Rampy was playing more of a flex role at the time. He was playing like a lot of Glaz when it was needed, and other operators like smoke ops that were needed, Dokkaebi. And Rampy is just like such an explosive player. Like he is very aggressive, has an insane shot. And I was like, look, I think Rampy should be on the Ash. Like he should be on this aggressive entry fragging role. Let me take like one of these the flex support roles and like help out more on that side. I think it'll just be better for the team, and that's what we did. And uh, I've been completely content and happy with that decision to this day. Like I like where my role is. Um, at the end of the day, I just want to do whatever it takes to win, and I felt like that was the best decision for the team to make us better and help us win. So at the end of the day, like that's all that matters to me is just doing my job for the team, like helping the team any way I can, best ways I can. Yeah, and just doing my part. Yeah, that's kind of how it happened, how we came to where we are today. Now I play mostly flex support. I'm the second hard breach when we need it. I'm the smoke. I use the smokes or whatever is needed. I bring whatever is needed, and
Yeah.
I try to do my best. Troy's like obviously the main IGL, and he calls everything. I try my best to like give him information or like ideas that I think might like help. Um, just stuff like that, and I feel like it's been working out really well.
Yeah.
I'm sure Troy can comment on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think your role. So I never teamed with you. So like, it's hard to tell. Like, when you don't team with someone, you don't know like them as a player really, other than the roles that you've played against them on, right? So like, for the longest time, I didn't know like how good you were on certain roles, and then like I found out when I played against you on smoke, I was like that guy's a smoke player. Period.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, and then so like I think like there was like the brief time that SSG put you back on room.
There
Like,
was, yes.
and I will say like I think that depends on like who else is on the team and stuff, but like I knew the whole time I was like your best role is smoke, period.
Yeah.
And then as far as attack, I didn't really know as well, but like I could say from playing with you, like I guess overall the way I see it is like you want to put Bosco on like the utility that needs to be like that's most flexible and like needs to be used well consistently is like what you want to put him on. So like Cap is a very good operator for him, or like your smokes basically, because like you need them alive for execute, and then also they need to be used correctly, because like there's a lot of players that won't use smokes correctly or fires or whatever. Like they'll just kind of, or they won't even use them unless they're asked to be used. Like Bosco will use them anyways. So I think it's a really good role for you in that sense, because like you usually get the most out of like your operator's kind of kit.
Yeah.
But
And it naturally like fits my play style too. It's kind of hard to like comment on your own play style, but like I said earlier, I'm like a little more passive. I'm not as explosive or like aggressive as other players. And I'm much more methodical and like I don't like to take risks unless I have to, you know? I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm going to die and not get to use my utility for the team. So like I try to stay alive best I can. And then I think it just fits well into like the roles that I play now.
yeah, I'd agree with that. And then as far as you said, like you bring a ton, like with the like bringing me information, but also just ideas. I think something a lot of people don't know, and this is like kind of been a thing on a lot of my teams that I've played on, is like IIGL on call, but usually there's like people on the team that like provide like specific perspectives that help me a lot. Like on EG, like Brandon, Geo, Amar, and Young, I would say were like some of the main ones that like provided me like different perspectives. Like Young liked things to be very simple and straightforward. Amar liked like cheesy and like aggressive things. Brandon liked the game to be played perfectly. Like he wanted it played perfectly. And then like Geo was like, it was like playing rank. Geo likes it fucking scrappy. Like just he's like his calls are simply like hit the site, or like we can plant. Like it's as simple as that. And I'm like, Geo, like how though? How do we do it? It's just like just hit the site, bro. So like there's a lot of different ones. I think, and then Bosco brings like a very, I think, a well-rounded one. Like yours is your kind of idea on the game and vision of the game is kind of similar to Brandon's, I'd say. Not not perfect, but it's a lot, like you said, a lot more like risk aversive, right?
Yeah.
So I think that helps a lot, and I try to find like a middle ground between what people provide. And I think like Fultz and Rampy are examples of like the more aggressive like playmaking kind of styles. Rampy brings a lot of ideas too. Nade usually Nade's a lot like Young, where like he doesn't say anything unless something's bad. Like if something's good, he won't say a word. If something is bad though, like Nade will just be like, "This fucking sucks," and I'm like, "Okay, noted." So yeah, but yeah, Bosco like helps a ton with the IGLing. I think it makes it a lot easier for me. But yeah,
Was there ever a team where you were the primary IGL on it, Bosco?
Um, I mean, I've tried. It didn't really work out well though. I tried for a short time on this team. I didn't like it. Um, I think I did try it a little bit on Obey too, and it was, I don't know. It's not really for me being like the main shot caller. Like Skies and I would do it pretty much. Yeah, Skies just said 50-50. Yeah, like it was it was pretty much me or him, me and him collectively on Obey. On SSG, I mean, when Redeem was like the IGL when we had him. When we didn't have him, it was pretty much a collective thing. Yeah, it was like Redeem and Brian. But when they picked me up for Brian, we didn't really have one. I mean, oh yeah, we did Redeem. Okay, so then we got rid of Redeem for Brian. So we tried to always keep a primary IGL in the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then Brian wasn't working out, and we ended up getting Fultz for him. But Fultz is not an IGL. That's just not like how he is. So at this time it's me, Chala, Rampy, Fultz, and Nade. And out of the five of us, there isn't really like a super strong leadership voice. I tried my best, but I couldn't do it myself. It was pretty much like a collective effort. Like we all just like helped each other do it. We didn't have like a single IGL where everyone just like listened to him and he made the calls. Like we all kind of just like did it together, made decisions on what strats we were gonna run together and how we were gonna attack things. But it definitely hurt us. Like in Raleigh, I think it showed, right? So in Raleigh with this roster, like we showed up, we played amazing Siege in the group stage. We got out of our group pretty convincingly. But that was when everything went according to plan. Like in those series, like we had our prep, we knew what we were going to be doing, we knew how to like answer for certain things, and as a result, like we were able to like handle it well. But then we get into the playoffs and we're playing against Secret first round, a team that we've never played against. We don't know what they do on some maps. So on Cafe, we picked Cafe against them because they never ever played it. They didn't show it. We thought they didn't play it, but then they obviously came into this event prepared for it. And they were throwing us these looks like these strats, and we didn't have an answer. We couldn't adapt, and that's because we didn't have a strong IGL. Like you couldn't prepare for what we possibly prepare for what they were going to be throwing at us because we didn't know. Not the same as like for group stage when we have so much time to prepare for our possible opponents. So after Raleigh, I remember Troy approached me after Raleigh and he was like, I really like the style of Siege you guys play. I think it's the style of Siege that I want to I believe in and I want to be a part of it. Like I think I can fill the missing gap that you guys need. Like he saw the potential in what we had as a team, but he also saw what we were missing, which is what I'm just talking about. Like we couldn't react to those teams that were throwing new looks at us. We couldn't adapt. And then bringing Troy on just changed all of that. Like he filled that gap perfectly. And I think obviously our record and our past matches since he's joined have spoken for itself. Like it just shows that we have become a team that can adapt to things. We have that strong leadership voice, and things are just a whole lot better. But when it was just me, no, I couldn't do it by myself. It was too stressful for me. I would get too mad when things would go wrong. It just wasn't. And then I would just like get quiet. That's one of the things about me. Like when I get really mad, I just get quiet sometimes, and it just wasn't working out. So
I will say I used to do the same thing. Like the teammates on EG can attest to this. Like I mean, it takes a while to get like used to it, but like I used to get really mad when things didn't go right. I don't get. I mean, like sometimes I do here and there now, but like I don't. Like there's plenty of scrims where shit doesn't go right, and I don't get that mad.
yeah,
I used to do the same where I would get mad and I'd go quiet just because like I couldn't figure it out. We would just keep losing rounds or things wouldn't be going right or according to the plan.
yeah, exactly.
And I didn't have a solution because I was like, well, the plan and the plan's not working. I don't know. and I get frustrated and start to be quieter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes time.
Definitely does. I don't think I think like I genuinely believe to be like a good, strong IGL, like it's just like a natural thing. Like I don't know like if you can learn it, it's a very difficult thing to learn and would take a lot of time. But I don't think just anyone could learn it and do it successfully. Like I think you have to be a specific like type of person and have a specific type of mind to be like a truly effective IGL, especially in Siege, with like the amount that you have to adapt and think through like strategies that are being thrown at you.
Yeah.
Especially now with like there's the meta now, like it's not just like like people can play different styles of Siege. I think we see that now, like between the NA League and the EU League. Like if you compare the two leagues, like it's a completely different style of Siege being played right now, and it works. Like that's like where the game is at. You can play it a certain way now, and there are other ways to play it. Whereas like before, it was like, all right, these are like the standard ops for like defense. Like you got to have these ops. You got to be doing this. Like it's just very strong. This is what works. But like now, there's just so many more options.
Yeah.
So
I think this is a great time actually to move towards our final topic before we get into the questions, which is a general discussion about what's going on in the US division / the NA League, because I mean, it seems like expectations have been subverted. And I know that all three of us probably have some thoughts on it. So my first question is just going to be towards Troy in your bounce back matchup last week. What did you change to be so successful? And Bosco, obviously, feel free to weigh in on it too.
I think it was like mostly a change of a mentality in our team. I think I touched on it in our interview after the match. Like we got a bit complacent, not in the sense that like no one gave a shit, right? Like it wasn't like people were just not getting on for practice, stuff like that. It was just that we didn't have the same like fire in practice, right? Like we weren't improving as much every day as like we have in the past, or we weren't coming into practice with the same energy that we needed to. And that was because of like complacency basically. And I think like there were moments before the season that we kind of like had wake up calls, but it was more to like we need to figure out the meta and adapt to the meta. And then I think when we lost to OXG, I think it was more of like a wake up call in the sense of like, all right, we need to bring like the right attitude and energy to practice as well, because like this is going to be a problem if we don't figure it out. And
Yeah.
I think that's when it kind of shined through. I think the DG match, like we were on our way there, but like it was like only a week after. Like I think by the time the DZ match rolled around, it was just we had had 2 full weeks of just like good practice where we were getting on, like everyone was fully invested in practice. Like there was no one that was just kind of going through the motions. It was just everyone was fully engaged. And I mean, when that happens, like you're going to come more prepared and play better in the match. And then also I think we did a lot of really good prep for DZ. Like we had a really good game plan going in. And I think we threw them off a little bit in some regards, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to really pinpoint, honestly. I mean, teams go through bumps, you know. It's like how it is. Like we knew this was gonna happen. Like you can't win forever. You can't be perfect forever. It's like basically impossible. It's really hard. Yeah, I mean, all of us on this team. I mean, Troy's already won before, and I mean, I won on Xbox, but everyone on this team like hadn't won a PC title before. Everyone was like super motivated. Like we want to be champions. Like we have to be champions. We got to do what we can, and you know, then we get it. We make it happen. We win. Like we become champions, and then yeah, I guess I don't want to say like we were complacent, like, and we were just okay where we were, because like that's not how it was.
Yeah.
But like what Troy said, like the same fire and intensity, like just like that sheer like inner will and desire to like win and be the best. It wasn't it wasn't as prevalent as it was when we weren't champions. Like it's kind of had to like rediscover it or like bring it back out, you know, like realize like wow, we're not playing like the same way that we used to play. Like we're still playing good Siege, we're still following like our strats, but like it was the small things in the rounds, like the small talk between us, like bouncing ideas off each other, using each other to like work through what we're dealing with. We weren't really doing that as well as we had been, like going through SI 2020 and everything leading up to that. We just weren't doing all that we could, and it was kind of like like a little bit of a wake up call and a realization that um, we need to be doing more, and like if we want to stay at the top, we got to be doing even more. Like, we got all of our we talked through. We had a good team talk, and we got all of our like mindsets on the same page and going in the same direction. And then I think it showed this past week when we played DZ. Like it was completely different SSG than the first couple weeks. Like, I mean, we looked good the first couple weeks, but like lots of mistakes, lots of mistakes that you didn't usually see from us. Not taking anything away from OXG or DG. Like they played unbelievably, like against us. They played really well. I think DG showed that they're capable of a lot more than people expected. And OXG, I mean, they're showing that like their roster is now like settling in. All 5 of them have like started to finally mesh, and like they're figuring out they figured out like their play style, and like their roles are solidified. And I think it shows. Like they're looking really strong now, stronger than they've looked in the past. So. I just wanted to comment on that. Not trying to take away from them or anything. But
I think this is the best OXG has looked, by far. I think that obviously not throwing everybody under the bus. I always thought that OXG's weakest point was their supports. I mean, I wouldn't say that any longer. Then again, I am also a very big Slash stan, so wherever he goes, I will cheer for. So, but no, I mean OXG looks good. I think the most interesting team to talk about in North America right now is probably DZ. I don't know if you two would agree on that one or not.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely up there just because you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know what's going on with them. Like the first 2 play days, like they looked incredible. I remember even like leading up to the start of the NA League, like we scrimmed them a couple times, and they pummeled us one scrim. Like it wasn't even like it was like, wow, these guys are playing like some great Siege. Like I haven't felt like I personally didn't feel like when you play against teams. How for me, I remember like how it feels based on the pressure they put on you as a player, like on the map. Like they just like some teams just don't put pressure on you. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like they run their strats, but they don't actually pressure you and make you feel uncomfortable. Like when we scrimmed DZ, like before the NA League started, like the pressure that they were putting on us was just like you haven't seen that. We hadn't seen that kind of pressure in a while, especially from them. Like they were looking really good. I was even talking to Skies about it. I messaged him. I was like, you guys are looking nasty right now. Like whatever you guys are doing, it's working.
How does it compare to when you scrimmed G2? Because you were on the team when they were scrimming. When you were scrimming G2, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a different G2 that we scrimmed though, like the old G2, haven't like with Goga and.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like at the time you were scrimming against a dominant G2. How did it stack up?
Oh right, I mean, well, scrimming against G2, like it's constant pressure throughout the round. Like no matter what you're doing, like you're trying to take some map control. Like there's gonna be a couple people there, like working off each other to stop you. If you want to you're trying to hold down a part of the map, there's going to be a lot of them putting pressure on you together. Like they were just extremely good at working together and creating that pressure, and just because of like their numbers and like their positioning, their skill, like they would just always win the engagements and come out on top like with the man advantage.
It was something that Troy had actually mentioned a while back. He talked about BC, and he said that whenever you play against BC, there's always pressure. It's always like how did you describe it? It's like you're always watching the clock or something like that. You're always under the clock.
I don't know if I said that, but it just like it was more with DZ, and I noticed it. Like I was gonna add to what Bosco was saying. Like he was saying that when we played DZ most recently in that scrim, like it felt pressured, and I noticed with the old DZ, that's how it always felt. Like when BC was playing on DZ. Like that's how it felt. Is like it just felt like you were under pressure the whole time. Like they had a pinch on you. Like you had nowhere to move. Like he was bucking above you, and there's like 3 people looking at you from the sides. Like that's how it would feel against the old DZ. And then like we had commented on this when we had played once they picked up Skies and Echo. We had commented that they didn't feel like the same team anymore because like they didn't feel bad. It wasn't like we played them and like they're a bad team. It was like we would scrim against them or play them in a match, and it didn't feel like DZ anymore. Like you didn't feel that pressure. And I thought that losing Brandon was a big part of that, and I think it probably was. And I think the players adjusted to the play style a bit more, and now they're a bit more in line with like how DZ used to be. But I still don't think it still feels quite the same.
But it did for those first 2 weeks leading up to the first season, or the first week leading up to the season.
Oh, yeah. I'll say that I think it was a combination of that and us going through some shit, because like that was the scrim. I think that was the scrim where like we figured out, like, I guess kind of the meta we're moving into. Like that was kind of a realization for us after that scrim. But
yeah, they taught us some things for sure. I mean, the meta did change drastically, like from what it used to be. Like when we were like at SI, you know, it was more of a roam heavy meta, a lot of mute Mozzie, like extensive setups throughout the map to slow down map control, and now it's more of like site denial, like denying like with the Wamai Jaeger, keeping up like shields and utility, like trying to stop them from getting rid of that stuff. Like it's completely different, and we had to figure that out. And that was a part of us. That was a part of our struggle in the beginning, like leading up to the season, was figuring that out and like adjusting strats accordingly. Yeah, I mean, aside from that, I like Troy said, like it was a combination of that and DZ like playing well and looking really good. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on now with them. You know, I'm not sure how it has changed from then to now. Like when we played against them, yeah, we had gotten through our little bump in the road, I guess you could say. Like we had figured things out and like figured out how to play our style of Siege with this meta. But I didn't feel pressured by them in the match at all. Like it didn't feel the same as like when we scrimmed them a few weeks ago. So it's really hard to like comment on what's going on, but that's like the easiest way I could describe it, is like usually they're a team that's really good at exploiting like and putting pressure on you, but like in that matchup there just wasn't.
yeah.
But we did prep really well for them and had a good game plan, but still, it doesn't change anything. They're usually very good at that.
I genuinely am confused with DZ. Because there are certain matches where they show signs of utter dominance and total brilliance, and then there are matches where it looks like if Hyper doesn't drop 20 kills, the team doesn't win. And I don't know their playstyle intricately enough to diagnose what is going on with the team. There, you know, I do wonder if some of it is that they are a notorious team for prep. I think this still kind of extends from the SK days, where the longer time you give this squad to prep, there will be, you know, leaps and bounds in their game.
Yes. I was smirking when you were saying that about SK. You were like, this used to be they're like, this used to be something, one of their criticisms, and I was smirking because like I think that's still one of their biggest weaknesses, is that they need prep time. I think.
I mean, this season format is kind of weird. It's very unforgiving. You know, you'll have one team play and then they'll immediately play a couple days later, and they won't have as much prep time. And then there'll be another team that'll have a full week off. Yeah. And I think that's very fair criticism for Ubisoft and Face It. I understand that that's probably the way the schedule is structured and you don't have a lot of wiggle room with it. But I don't think that teams should be playing so close to another match that they just played. You know, you have a direct advantage if you've had a week's rest, and now, you know, your opponents have 2 days to come up with possibly new maps that they want to play, new strats on those maps, tweak things up enough that they're not going to get found out, etc. And I know that a couple players on some of these teams have ranted about it on Twitter, or not ranted, vented, I should say. And I think it's very fair to say that teams should have a standard amount of time between matches, but that's a conversation for another day. It really does strike me as DZ are a team that has a system, obviously, that they really buy into. It's funny because even though they're now going to be in the NA qualifiers, I do think they're playing better than they have in a while. Even with their 2 losses over the last week, I still think DZ is in a better spot than they were at in Tokonami. And I think that they're probably in a better spot than they were at SI. I just think that the top of NA is continuing to get better and was pointed out. And I will eat humble pie here because I am notorious for just shitting on the lower half of NA. I do think that the NA teams are also improving. I think Tempo Storm and DG have far surpassed my expectations for this season.
DG's gotten a lot better. DG's like a solid team.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one roster move with NJR was huge. The Sonics, obviously with Slebin and Gomfy, were always good. I think Iconic is looking like, he's been in this position for quite a while. He doesn't play like a rookie, and eUnited exists. So like it's at a point now where NA is at least getting more competitive. And obviously that doesn't help DZ, but I think DZ is also improving. It's just getting masked by the fact that the worst teams are getting better.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think DZ, yeah, I think they've improved as a whole, but they still have, again, I think they have some really big weaknesses in some areas, and it shows. And like when they're exploited, it shows like very well. Like I think a big reason like they lost to TSM right after they played us is like they had 1 day of prep.
Yeah.
Right? They played us Monday, they had to play TSM on Wednesday. Like that is not ideal for DZ to play on 1 day of prep. And then
I said 2 days of prep. I was being charitable, but yeah, it's really just one.
Yeah, like it's not ideal for them. And then I still think they're a team that struggles with adapting. And I think that they're a team that you can kind of throw off their game plan in that sense. I will say if they have plenty of time to prep, it's harder to throw them off their game plan, right? Because like you don't know what their game plan is as much. So it can be a bit more difficult in that sense, but yeah, I think those are 2 big weaknesses of them. I think there's other issues as well, probably, and there's probably internal things like that I don't know about that they're solving. But
that was my biggest thing on Wednesday when Kix and I were casting. It was DZ obviously has a structure, and if something changes, some variable that they weren't accounting for changes, it doesn't look like they're able to fix it. Like they can't diagnose mid-round and call and make changes on the fly. And obviously there's teams that don't need to. Empire, for example, was a team that didn't really need to either. They just kind of stick to the plan, even if they lost somebody early. But I think that was very unique, and eventually it caught up to Empire as well. And I don't think we're at that place right now, given, especially if you're on attack, how much utility you need. Losing somebody early is there could go basically your entire strat. There's far less wiggle room now than there was 7, 8, 9 months ago, right? And I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you fix that if you're DZ. I like that they're structured. I like that they're methodical. I like that they have a method to that madness. But something's got to give, because when you're getting out stratted, and this was something we talked about in the coaching episode, when you're getting like out coached and out IGL'd, like for DZ, it just seems like if that's happening, they can't come back, period. There's no coming back from it. The game's over. And that seems to hold up in a lot of their matches over the last like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. It's hard to really say without knowing what's going on internally.
Yeah.
It's all speculation. I will say that adapting thing where you're saying like they fall apart if they're seeing something that they're not ready for, like something weird thrown at them, they're having trouble adapting mid-round. I mean, I will say that is the hardest thing to do in this game.
Oh yeah.
Especially as an IGL. Like that is the hardest thing to do, is like figure out what you're looking at, like realize what you're looking at, and like know how to just have an answer for it, like know what to do. Like just within a you need to know what to do within like 30 seconds or like the round's underway, you don't have all the time in the world. So
yeah, like okay, so I just want to add to that. Like I agree with what Bosco's saying. So like I give them shit for it, and like, and I say they can't adapt. I will say I think a lot of teams aren't good at adapting. Like I think a lot of teams
Most.
are pretty bad. Like most are bad at it.
Most,
Like
yeah.
genuinely, I give them shit for it because I think they get hyped up, and also I think they hype themselves up. I mean, I will say like by all means, like hype yourselves up. It's fine, but like I'm personally the type of person like I'm gonna call people out and I'll say shit like that. I don't think they're good at adapting. I don't think you can be a championship caliber team unless you can do that. Like I genuinely believe what sets like the best teams apart at lands is being able to adapt and being able to work off minimal prep work. Like you just you can't win a tournament if you're not the only case I would say you can is like Empire. And Empire, the thing is that they were literally the best at like running the defaults in the meta. Like DZ, what they run, their strats, like they're very strat oriented and like they buy into the system and all that, but their strats aren't like the meta across the board. Like what Empire was running, like it's very standard. It's not like weird funky shit, right? Like DZ runs shit that like makes you uncomfortable. Like they don't run stuff that like everyone runs, right? Like they run like Clash a lot of the time, or like just unique setups or off sites. Like against us, they didn't go. I think they went plain once on Villa, and then they ran like living once and like dining twice, and they never went stat. Like they try to run like unique sites or like unique takes. Um, they try to be different. And I will say they're good at it. Like they come up with good ideas, but I don't think like you can, even if you're the best at those ideas, like I don't think that's good enough. Like you have to be like in Empire's case, they ran the same thing over and over again and they were the best at it, but it was like it was the meta. Like they were best at the default takes, like takes that were proven that if you did them right, it would work. Yeah. And like Empire would just run it because they knew that if they did it right, executed it right, it would work. And then obviously teams started to get better and better and like kind of cheat more and more into it to like play against the way Empire was playing. But yeah, I think like G2, like they adapted well. EG, we were a team that adapted well. I think like NIP, they were changing stuff up all the time. Like they're a very flexible and adaptive team. Like I think the teams that have shown that like they can be the very best are teams that can adapt, and I do think that's what sets like that's what makes you a championship caliber team. And genuinely, I don't think DZ is there yet until they figure out like that adapting part. I think they're one of the best teams. They're a top team. I don't think they're a championship caliber team though.
It's one thing I wanted to note about that NIP SSG matchup in the grand finals was I think there's a bit of a sour mood because it was only technically 4 maps. I think if it had been a standard default best of 5, and I'm aware that that wouldn't have been possible because NIP already would have lost. Like I get the arguments that are going to come for the people who are like, well, why did SSG get a 1 map advantage? I would just want to skip past that and just dive into a hypothetical. If that had been 5 maps, I think we would have been looking at probably the second best series of all time after the EG Penta one. I think it would have ended up taking over the G2 Empire, which I would say G2 Empire at Raleigh is probably the second best match of Siege we've ever watched. Obviously, people are going to have different opinions here, but that's my take on it. And I think that we would have seen SSG NIP leap over it because you nailed it. It seemed like every round, NIP was doing something totally different. And if they were repeating things, it almost was never back to back. Versus teams that will go to the same bomb site and run basically the same setup for 2 rounds in a row and make one small adjustment or just get one early pick, and that's the difference. They would completely just level their strategy and just do something different. And then you would do the same thing by, completely changing up the way that you would go to a bomb site, or you'd change a bomb site, or you'd change the operators, or you'd change who's playing what. And it was a very diverse matchup. And I just kind of wanted to get that in there and give some praise to NIP.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to keep talking about DZ, or do you want to move on to eUnited and then go to the Bosco questions?
I mean, I'm cool with, yeah.
I do want to talk about eUnited because I don't think they should be this bad. I don't. I do not think they should be this bad.
It's hard to comment, it's hard to comment. You can only comment on what you see from the outside. But all I'm gonna say is like, at what point do you like change things? Like play style, roster, whatever it may be. Like they've obviously been doing something. Like their style of Siege has not been working. Like it's very obvious and apparent. And I'm not throwing shade at them whatsoever. I think they have good players, and I think they could be a lot better than they are. But they are obviously behind everybody else in the league right now. It just seems like, I don't know. It just like to me personally, it seems like they don't care that much, which I know that is not true at all. I know they have passionate players on that team and they care deeply about what they're doing. But like the decisions that they make in game, like it just doesn't reflect that. Like they take like very, very high and unnecessary risks that end up backfiring a lot of the time. And it just, I mean, at what point do you change the play style? Do you change your mindset? Like that's all I really have to say about a United. I think if they did that, they would be a much better team.
Yeah, I think it's mostly their play style. I'm gonna be honest. I think they want to be unique too bad. Like they want to play a different play style just for the sake of saying, "Hey, we thought of this and we play this style and we're gonna make it the best." Like swallow your fucking pride and like clearly there's something that fucking works with all these other teams. Take like what is working with all these other teams, add your own twist to it. That's fine. Like everyone adds their like own twist to their style and stuff. But like I feel like they're trying to reinvent the wheel by literally playing the game differently and like trying to get to the top with that. And I don't like sure if they can like get better players and I think or like maybe they can change some things and I think maybe they can have better results with the play style they're having. I'll tell you right now though, I don't think they'll ever be a championship or caliber team and a consistent team with the play style they're playing. I think it's impossible to be consistent with the play style they're playing. It can't happen. And
Way to describe it. Like consistency, it's impossible to keep
it,
that.
and that's the thing too is like if you want to again back to being a championship caliber team, if you want to be that, like you need to be consistent because tournaments happen over multiple days, especially the majors. The majors happen over like fucking like 10 days.
Yeah.
Like you need to be playing 10 days of good siege.
Just wait until SI has 20 teams, and
Yes,
we're in Montreal for 4 months.
like you need to be playing consistent. Otherwise, you're not going to make it far. I mean, and yeah, maybe like their I don't know like what kind of goals they have or what kind of vision they have. For me, like that's how I always see it. Like whenever I've talked about my team's play style, it's always about how can we win an event. I don't care how we get there because I think if we're playing good enough to win an event, we're going to fucking get there. Like I'm not playing around how do we win online? How do we qualify for this event? It's how do we be in the best shape possible to win an event once we get there. I don't know. Maybe that's a weird way to look at it, but that's how I see it. And I just don't think the way they play the game is it's not consistent. It's not reliable, and I think something needs to change. And I will say, when they were Obey, I thought they had a good play style. I thought they played the game right, or that like
This is
they
the
had
Obey
their own
roster, by the way, from Challenger League. For the people that are
Yes.
confused, Obey briefly picked up this team in Challenger League, and then they made it into Pro League.
Yeah,
Because I don't
and,
want people
like-
being confused about like the old Obey that we were talking about with Bosco on it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Obey. It was like Grixer, Callout, Abunai, Fozo, and Forest.
Yeah.
And I thought they played good Siege at the time. Like they had their own unique strats. Like they still had some like aggressive flair to them here and there, but like they played logical Siege. Like they were making solid decisions throughout the rounds. It
They're by
felt like.
far and away the best Challenger League team that season.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now
Definitely.
I'm telling like if you watch a eUnited VOD and then if you watch that team's VODs, it's literally a different team. They have 3 of the same players, I think, right?
They have Forest,
Yeah,
they have Forest, Grixer, and
yeah.
Callout still.
They have 3 of the
dropped
same
Abunai
players,
and
but
Fozo
they
for
literally
Alpha
play a completely different game.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, like I feel like it has to have something to do with Yeti and Alfama. And like I can understand people coming in and giving their flavor, like their ideas, but like it's literally transformed the team, and I think it's for the worse. And I'm not saying that Yeti and Alfama are bad players because I actually think they're fine as players, but I think the team as a whole is like headed the wrong direction with how they want to play the game. And I think I mean I feel like it has to have something to do with those two because they came in. they weren't there before, and I felt the way they were playing before was good.
I think the peak of the team was shortly after they were in PL with Yeti on the squad and Reed filling. I think that was probably their peak. And then Reed left, and then Alfama came in. And I don't think they know how they want to use Alfama. I don't think they know where to put him. They don't support him at all. I mean, what was it? It was the first round of the first match that they played in the US division. Alfama was in sight in like 10 seconds. It was like 10, 15, 20 seconds. He's already in sight and he was dead. And it's like, cool. I mean, I get it, but that wasn't a one-off because they've done that like seven fucking times since then.
That's the problem. Like, unpredictability is great, but that's the thing. That's their standard.
Yeah.
So like, it's no longer unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to have like the basics and the fundamentals to fall back on. Like that needs to be your primary style. And then you could, like, that's the thing. Like, I know Alfama, like on the stream, they used to like do that fast entry stuff. Like they'd have pre-placed drones and they'd fly a fucking guy in.
Yeah, but
right?
Lestream also
That's
had
great.
aces.
That's true. And they had Uno at the time too.
Yes.
But regardless of that, like, that's fine to do, but you can't be doing it every round. Like, you need to have like your basic style that you play every round, and then randomly out of nowhere you throw that in, and then people are like, oh shit, right? Like that change of pace and change of tempo will not consistently work unless like you do it to make people feel uncomfortable and to catch them off guard. And you need to time that right, and you need to have the right mix of both in order to actually catch people off guard.
Like, I would say that Nip caught you off guard on a number of rounds in that finals. It wasn't always right at the start, right?
I mean, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just playing like incredible siege. Like they were throwing.
Yeah.
They did not want to let us in the building.
No, and it was like fundamentally good though too. Like they were playing it together. Like that was like one of those ones where you felt like pressured.
Yeah.
Like on border, like there was just times where I'd be fine 1 second, and then the next second, like literally my call would be like, I think I'm about to die, because like they'd have all the ankles on you, and then next thing you know, you got naded.
Yeah,
you're like, well, fuck, like what? You didn't even know what you could have done there because you didn't even know you were in trouble until you were basically dead. And then but then they'd mix in like random things, like random like Julio would enter like a random kind of lurk spot and just catch people off guard, cutting them off, rotating and stuff, or just, I don't know, Pino with his fucking random antics of killing everyone. Like
that Pino buck play though.
But overall, that's the thing though, is NIP used to have a lot more of an inconsistent style where they would. They used to just rely on just those kinds of plays.
Well, Psycho was the one they relied on the most for the longest time.
And they didn't have that like basic fundamental style to fall back on. But that's why they're as good as they are now, because they play a lot of standard siege for the most part, and then they throw in like their flavor here and there, where like Psycho will randomly pick onto a Monty, and then like they'll just do some random shit that they literally just made up. And that's where it catches you off guard. That's where it's actually unpredictable, and that's when it's effective. But you need to have that balance. Like, you can't be all in on one or the other, because like if you're just all in on like Monty cheese or like Monty Ying cheese, right? Like all of a sudden like you ban Monty and then you just run Warden every round, and all of a sudden it's like, what do we do? You can't go all in on that kind of stuff. You need to have something to fall back on.
I really like that you put that they're trying too hard to do their own style, because let me describe 80% of the rounds that eUnited has played. And if I was to, let me start this again. If somebody were to say to me, oh yeah, what happened in that eUnited game? I'd say, well, Alfama runs in and gets fried. Yeti runs in on his own, gets 2 picks, then he gets fried. 3v3. Forrest and Grixer are in no man's land. They engage in 50-50s. They lose. It's call out in a 1v3. They're like, what round was that?
Don't forget to mention
Every
Forrest
round.
Operator being a random operator.
Yeah, Forrest just picks whatever. Forrest is playing, operator roulette. And they're like, oh, what round was that? And I was like, every round. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
It's like Alfama runs in, he's unsupported. Then Yeti does the exact same thing, but I guess teams maybe aren't expecting Yeti to go in there. 2 people are dead because Yeti's got good aim. I mean, you can't take that away from him. And he's very aggressive and he's got good game sense. Yeti runs in, totally unsupported. He gets 2 kills. Maybe Forrest accompanies him on their suicide mission. Grixer, who's an incredibly talented player and I think is being misused on his role, he's off in the middle of fucking nowhere because the team is just in disarray. And then Callout, who is everybody's favorite punching bag right now in North America, is literally still in spawn trying to drone them in, being like, guys? And it's like a 1v3, 1v4, and there's 1 minute and 47 seconds left on the clock. And it's like, what do you do at that point? Like, how many rounds do you have to do that? And honestly, I think to a certain extent, the buck falls on the coaches. Say what you will about Bagel as a coach, but you've got one of the smartest guys in Rainbow Six Siege as your analyst in Meepy. How the fuck are you that bad? How has Meepy not sat you down and been like, wake the fuck up, all 5 of you? Like, sort this shit out. Like, it's not even that they're a bad team. It's that I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. They make my brain hurt watching them play. And it's like, I try to analyze it and it's like, I can't because it defies logic. There are a couple teams that can make those hero plays. Lax plays unsupported most of the time. Laxing is an inhuman, superhuman creature. Not everybody can be him, you know? And most teams don't play off of themselves. They usually have some kind of support system in place. Like I said, I think Grixer is being misused. Grixer needs to be one of your entries. He's proven he's good enough for it. But I don't know what's going on with this team, honestly. And it's just like that they not just Bosco, that whole team needs an exorcism, not just Bosco's mic.
Yeah, I mean, I agree about Grixer as well. I will say though, like part of it is that even on entries, like I feel like he would still be one of the last people alive, even on entries, and that's just because I feel like so many of the other players on the team take like insane risks.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Like they could just die like on important utility.
Yeah.
And like yeah, you can't consistently have that. And I actually wanted to add, so I don't know a ton about secrets, so like take this with a grain of salt. This is just my outside looking in kind of take. But I actually thought Secret kind of played like a similar, very scrappy and just aggressive play style like that. And I think that's part of why they were as inconsistent as they were. And I think like that problem could carry over. Like I don't know what Meepy's saying to them. I don't know if he knows that was part, or if he thinks that was part of their problem on Secret. And I don't even know if it was. But I think that Secret did play an inconsistent play style, and they were inconsistent because of it. Like I think they could lose to some weaker teams in Challenger League, or like they lost to weaker teams like in Challenger League and Prem as well, I think. But just because it relies a lot on individual players showing up and also just things going right. Like just sometimes the other team might be in the right position or might be just in the right spot and ready for whatever unpredictable shit you're trying to do. And then all of a sudden, like someone important is off the board and like the round is looking slow. So I do think Meepy's a very smart guy, and I think he understands the game very well.
His understanding of the game is almost unmatched. Like just hearing him speak about it, he gets really into it. I enjoy it a lot.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure who's bringing the ideas or what, but I think they need a change in play style, and I think that would help them a lot.
I mean,
definitely was. Sorry.
No. All I was going to say is that just because Meepy's smart doesn't make him a good analyst. I just think that I think that if I'm him, I'm sitting there just watching the team and I'm just not in a good shape. Sorry. Continue, Dylan.
Like it's impossible to say, looking in from the outside, but Secret did play like similar, I guess you could say, but it was much more coordinated. Like,
yeah.
They also, frankly, they had better players. Like Secret can pull that shit off because you've got people like Leon Gids on that team.
Yeah. I mean, we played them at Raleigh. I mean, they showed they were a really good team, and like they were doing some pretty unorthodox stuff. They were just running around like they owned the place, you know. Just
Mm-hmm.
they just ran us over. It wasn't really much of a challenge for them, I guess. And that's just because of their play style and our lack of ability to adapt, you know. And I think United, I guess, is kind of similar, but like with even less structure and like
Yeah,
game plan.
I would
like
agree with that.
I'm not trying to like just roast them, but like, I mean, we literally we don't we literally stopped scrimming those guys, like because we felt it was a waste of time. Because
That has been talked about on Twitter quite a bit, actually. A lot of
like,
teams have addressed it.
yeah, I mean, you scrim against them and they're doing things that you would just never ever ever see in a match, like even from them, which is a problem. Like you can't. I think this just like this applies to other teams as well. Like practicing, like you're gonna play is like one of the most important things you could do as a professional. Like you need to be practicing like and doing things that you're going to be doing in a match, and you know you scrim against eUnited and one round you'll have like a blitz and a fuse and like just doing random stuff. Like you don't even know what's going on. So like that's what I meant earlier when I said that I feel like they don't care. Like I've never scrimmed against a team that's done that before.
You never
like,
scrimmed against Ronan?
No, I don't think that was so long. Those guys,
No,
that was such an
the
old
Talon
team.
rushes. We
The
scrimmed
Talon
against
Billboard era?
I will say we scrimmed against the Talon Rush one time, and I literally alt F4 in the middle of the map, and I said we're not playing these guys again. So
I just remember when there was, oh man, this was like 2 years ago. Somebody got into it with the Ronin guys on Twitter, and I remember Billboard was like trying to defend why they were jumping out of windows like 3 rounds in a row, and they're like, "No, we do this in game," and it's like,
No, yeah, that's what people say. They're like, "Oh, we'll do this in the game," but like when it comes down to it, like it doesn't happen. And if you were to do it in the game, like it wouldn't work most likely. Like you could maybe get away with like like we were saying, like a one-off type thing, where like
Yeah.
getting someone into like a building into the building like really really fast, like unexpectedly. But like every round, like I I remember like I would just I would go sit in a random room and just wait, and like within 20 seconds, Alfama was in front of me, like. I just like this is like a bigger topic than just eUnited.
Yeah.
The whole practice like you play thing. Like teams are just doing stuff and peaking things that they just would not peak in a match, and it just like it deteriorates the scrim and it makes the practice bad on both sides because it's just not going to help you when it comes to match day. So
we talked about this on a previous episode where it's like teams scrim to win as well. It's like they scrim, and then if they lose the scrim, they call scrims for the rest of the night. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's definitely not okay. I think playing to win in a scrim is okay because you're playing to win in a match, right? But
fair.
Yeah.
I mean, at the expense
to a
of
certain
learning.
extent.
At the expense of learning is the point. Is it's most of the time these teams, especially a lot of the teams that do tend to play to win in scrims, they are teams that need to learn more than they don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Like
you've got a tier 2 team that needs to climb. They should be using the scrims against tier 1 teams as a learning environment. And yeah, they should be giving it their all. They shouldn't be sandbagging and being like, we lost this round. Who gives a fuck? But at the same time, you can't just be like, hey guys, like throw everything out the window. Like we got to beat these guys. Like start teabagging, start spawn peeking. And it's like, what are you doing? Like
it matters like how you're trying to win. Like
Yes.
if you're trying to win the scrim from like doing some crazy stuff, then it's not worth it. But if you're trying to win the scrim, like running your strats and trying to improve and prepare yourself for like what you're going to be facing in your upcoming match, then that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
That's okay. But if you're just, exactly like what you just said, like just random stuff. So I think that's another big thing with United. We haven't scrimmed them in a long time, so I don't know if that's changed, but I do think if they practice differently, it would help them a lot. So, but it's hard to say what's going on from the
right.
looking in. But to me, like the other 7 NA League teams, like even including Tempo, like I think Tempo is also a good team, like to talk about when it comes to scrims. Like they have very high scrim energy. They do things in scrims that I don't see them doing matches as well. But I look at it like differently. Like I can see like how much they care and like they try to improve them. They've actually tried to change that. Like so.
People always talk about how Tempo plays in scrims, and I think it was on this show. Somebody said, like, if Tempo plays against TSM like they're playing in scrims, then TSM's in trouble.
No, I believe
that's
that
not bad.
too.
Was
I
that you?
believed that too.
Yes. I'm telling
we
you.
scrim Tempo a lot.
Yeah, it was me. I'm telling you, heading into the season, they looked like the best NA team that we scrimmed. I'd
They were
say
looking
them,
really
them
good.
or them or OXG was like the best team we scrimmed.
And that's
Granted, they-
deceptive, right?
Yeah, because they were doing stuff that like I said, they Tempo would be doing stuff in the scrim that they wouldn't do. You know,
Yes,
the
and
matchup
like we
doesn't-
had that in mind.
Yeah, but they were still looking really good, like better than they've ever looked. And then they, it didn't really translate to the matches. They didn't look terrible, but they didn't look the same as they were in the scrims. So I just think it's a really important thing to like consider, like practicing like you play is like a big deal. And that's like a big thing for us. Like we do not do stuff that we wouldn't do in a match. Like, and personally, like I don't play a certain position or peek certain things that I just wouldn't do in a match, like that's how you prepare yourself for that stuff, and that's how you stay consistent.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's interesting to watch, and I like that you touched on the fact that it's a larger conversation, because I think that there are a lot of teams that practice poorly. Uno was in the chat earlier today, and he said this is one of the most important things that doesn't get discussed. There are a lot of teams that have no idea how to practice, and they don't know how to learn.
Everywhere, in Europe, APAC, Brazil, I'm sure it's a thing everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's frustrating to deal with when you're a team that like strictly focuses on improving and getting better and running like, and then you run into stuff that like just makes your practice like not pointless, but you know what I mean. Like it hurts it. It's like stuff that
not
you
as
wouldn't run
worthwhile
into.
as it could be.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, we might as well be scrimming somebody else. Like, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this lines us up perfectly to end off on questions. There have been a couple good ones. As with everybody that's watching this live, you are more than welcome to submit questions. They will go up the morning of the show. I might do it in the evening. I might do it the day beforehand, so that if you can't watch the show, at least you can ask a question. Might do that. But anyway, I've been putting up in the morning of the show. And then, yeah, if you think it's a good question, go and give a thumbs up, as you've all been doing. You've been doing an excellent job. And I'll start off with a question to both of you while Troy looks over, and I'll let Bosco start this one. It's asked by FC and is actually a very good question that I don't think has been properly expanded upon. How did you guys come up with that clubhouse basement defense roam, and how has it managed to be unbeatable?
Well, I believe it was Lycan, Rampy, and I don't remember who was all in the dry run. I wasn't there. I don't remember why. It might have been something with school, because this strat was made a long time ago. But
I think it was like in Nade and Foltz.
Oh, was it?
'Cause
I thought Rampy was in it.
I don't know if Rampy was,
Lycan
but
went
I know
down fast.
Nade and Foltz, and Lycan were definitely there.
Lycan, Rampy, Nade, and Foltz. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember why we weren't there, but they, just got in dry run. Like, we're like, okay, how can we make a roam work on this map? Like, where can we put these castles and these jammers and these pests that are going to make it impossible or very difficult for people to drone us out and take the map control without like just taking a risky engagement? You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much what it was. Like, the drone denial like just stopped people from knowing where we were, and they would just have to push into like a roaming Mozzie or mute with the pump. Like, it was a good strat. It covered all bases, and then we practiced it enough to where we pretty much got every look at like what people wanted to do against it. Like, some people would try rushing blue. Like, a lot of people tried that like early on, and like I was the guy that would be responsible for like stopping that to happen, and it happened against Nip. They all tried to rush blue, and I was literally just sitting under the hatch waiting for them, because that's where I would start, because like people would try rushing it all the time. So like we just got used to every look that people threw at us. Like, we knew how to deal with it, and we knew how to like rotate. We learned that was a big thing about it, is like learning how to rotate the people down when needed, like just stuff like that. Like yeah, I mean, we just make it work every time. Or almost every time. I don't know if Jordan has anything else to say about it, but
I mean, you guys came up with it before I was on the team. I'd
Right.
say like we still kind of developed it once I joined. Like, I feel like the rotation thing, like that was more when I joined. Like, we were still learning that. like the rotations and like the reactions on it. I mean, even now we still learn some of the reactions.
Yeah. Oh
'cause
yeah. I mean,
there's still new things people do against it.
exactly.
But yeah, they came up with the idea, and actually, when I was on EG when we played them at Rally, that was the first time they showed it on stream was against us, and I remember playing against it in game, and like against all the roams on Clubhouse I had played against at the time, people only either reinforced either one of the two. It was either the server wall or the hot tub wall. One of them was always soft. You never had both reinforced, and they had both reinforced, and I didn't know what to do. I remember I didn't know what to do because in my head always it was like we would just go to which side was soft and then we'd push across for the clear. But then both sides were reinforced, and I was like, well, I guess we have to fucking thermite one. And then like the clear sucked. It sucked. I mean, the first time going up against that strat, like, no, it was not. We were not bound to react well to that. Like it just wasn't going to happen. But yeah, just practicing it a lot. I mean, we've ran that roam a lot. Like we've played it 100. We might have hit that 1,000. I don't know. We've played it a lot. So
you know how many times I've had to cast it in every region?
Yeah, everyone runs it.
Every fucking they're going downstairs, and then every single time it's like there's just like a little thing that pops up where it's like you must call it the SSG defense, and I'm like,
yeah, good strat.
It's a strong one for sure.
You have a
you
have a question?
I got a good one.
Oh,
a good one. I'd like to believe a good one, but I think it's good to ask you, Bosco. Anyways, I do not know. Killinjar, I think that's his name. He asked, as one of the most clutch players in the game, what is your thought process when a strat starts to fall apart? I understand a big part of clutching is capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes, but are there certain things that you start prioritizing over others in, say, a 3v5 or a 2v4?
That's a pretty good question. Is that in the Discord?
Yeah. You want me to? I had to
Looking
scroll
for
up
it.
a
I
bit.
just want to like read it so I can like.
I'll put it in the episode channel.
Okay. No, that's a good question. Strat starts to fall apart. I mean, strat starting to fall apart. I mean, it's hard to like say what causes that. I mean, people are going to like push into your, strat, and some people are going to be successful at, overtaking and getting the man advantage. Like it's just how it is. I don't really think the strat falls apart just because you fall into a 3v5 or 2v4. The round is just never over until it's over. Like, I play. It depends on the situation. It's different for every situation, every clutch situation, but you just have to know how to react in that situation. Like there are some clutch situations where like you got to get aggressive and you want to look for like a pick, right? Like because the numbers aren't looking in your favor. Or there are some situations where like the roamers have, or whatever, the strat has burned enough time that the people on the site can, they can hold it off in the last 30 seconds or so, even if it is a 2v4. So I think it just depends on the situation. And yes, obviously capitalizing on their mistakes is a big part of it. Like at the end of the day, you're not going to clutch around if the team's doing everything right. Like that's how you, at least in my experience, like, a lot of the clutches that I get, like, could have easily been avoided, right? If the team handled it the right way. So yes, capitalizing on the opponent's mistakes is a big part of it, and just knowing when to try to act on that is the other big part of it. And it's so hard to like comment on that just because it's different in every clutch situation, like depending on numbers and positions, like it's just so different every time. But that's just a part of experience, like that's where experience comes in. And just I've been in a lot of clutch situations, especially on defense, just because I'm the site player. I'm one of the anchors. Like I try to stay alive. I'm usually one of the last people alive. So I've seen a lot of clutch situations, a lot of different ones, and I'm just very comfortable in them. Like it's just like the round is still going for me. It's not over till I'm dead.
Solid answer. I think this one is Siege specific. This comes from Expert B and says, do you believe that anyone can be a top performing player within Rainbow Six if they work hard enough, or is there an innate limit to each person that can never be overcome? And just my own thoughts on this is that I would imagine that this question probably comes from the fact that you hear pros talk so often about how you don't necessarily need to have the best mechanical skill to be a pro in this game. And I would imagine that's probably where this stems from.
Okay. I do think it's like hard to say. That's like a hard question to answer. It's a good question too. I do think that I like to believe that anyone is capable of doing anything that they put their mind to. You know, I like to believe that. I believe that if you really want something, you can make it happen. You just like have to work really hard. Like some people have to work harder than others. That's just how it is. But I do think like if you work hard enough and you want to learn and you have the right mindset, like I do think anyone could become a pro player. Like obviously that sounds easier when you just say it like that, but I mean, I didn't ever see myself becoming a pro player. Like I never like thought it was going to happen or believed it was going to happen. It just kind of happened. And I think that's how it happens for some people. Like they just get really good at something and like because they put in a lot of time. Like I didn't just get good at this overnight. Like I put in a lot of time. I made a lot of sacrifices while I was playing this game, getting good at it. I sacrificed some social relationships for it, and like, you know, some people just don't understand that some people just don't understand what you're doing, or what it means to you. But anybody could get there, I think, if they put in the work and they have the will and the drive to do it. I really do. So that might be like closed-minded to believe, I guess, or that's not the right word. I'm just more positive, I guess, like a positive outlook on it. Not as realistic maybe, but I do think that anyone could make it happen if they really want to.
What about, and I'm going to ask about this in particular, what about the game and the way that the game plays? Could somebody with extraordinary game sense, but not exactly the best ability, be able to rise to the top? Do you think that that's something that can be overcome? Or do you think that they need to learn that ability? For the people that say, like, oh, I'm not the best mechanically.
Right. I mean, I'm not the best mechanically at all. Like, and I'm still really good. Like there are plenty of players,
guys, by the way.
There are plenty of players in Pro League that are not super flashy with their aim and movement. Like they're not like there are plenty of players that are like that are really, really good because they understand the game. And in my opinion, this game, like Siege, is all about positioning. Like it's how you position yourself in the round, like, and how you position yourself when you take gunfights. Because I don't think you just need a good shot, like in good mechanics. If you understand the game, you position yourself well, you can kill anybody. Like it's easy to kill people. It's not hard in this game, like some other games like CS, where like it's actually hard to shoot. Like I can't shoot straight in that game, but like just about every gun in this game you can control and like pretty well. You know, there's only a few that are like really bad. So I think this game is more about just understanding it and understanding the positioning and like when you should be like getting aggressive and like peeking things versus like just running around and trying to slam everybody off like these angles. Like I don't think that's what it is. So I don't think you need good mechanics at all.
Solid answer. Gives me hope. Gives me hope of going pro one day.
Obviously, like there's a limit on that. Like it's to a certain extent. Like,
Damn.
You can't be a complete bot.
There
I mean, I'm not saying you are, Parker.
You need to be need a certain level of mechanical skill, but I do think it's like
I
think it's obtainable. Like
exactly, like it's achievable for sure. Like just putting in hours in T-Hunt and playing the game every day, like it's achievable. Like you learn.
Yeah.
Like it took me a lot of work to get to where I am mechanically, and I am by no means like very impressive mechanically, I don't think. But like I had to work really hard to get even to where I am mechanically.
Right.
So I think I don't know. I definitely think it's possible.
It's fine. I just got killed on the internet, so that's why I didn't want to go pro.
I will say that I think it's easier for younger people. Like obviously, like I'm one of the older people in Pro League now. Like it's weird to like think about. Like I'm 25 now. Like most of the players, there's only like a few players I think that are older than me, and I have noticed like my mechanical skills like maybe declining a little bit. Like not like to a point where I'm worried, but to a point where like I need to like work a little harder. You know, I think when you just have to work harder to like keep your mechanical skills at par. You know, with the rest of the players. Like when you get older. So like as long as you're willing to put in the work, you can do it. Like that goes for anyone. I just think it's a little easier when you're younger. That's all.
I mean, there's a reason. Yep. There's a reason why Houghton said when he turned 21, he got put on hard breach, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely easier when you're younger. Like it's more natural.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have one?
Yeah, got another one. It's from my dad, Big Wall. Yes, what are the key components to each of the following roles in your experience? Hard breach, entry, blank, watch, IGL, coach, analyst, fraggers. So just I can copy that over because there was a lot of roles, but I think it'd be interesting to hear that, like key components for each role.
Okay. Okay. Key components for hard breach. Yeah, I see. Gosh, it's each role in this game really does take a different kind of like play style, I guess you could say. But first of all, I'll start with the IGL because I feel like that's the easiest one to start with. To be an IGL, you have to understand how to play each and every role. Like you really do. I think you got to understand like how to play, like how the fraggers should be playing, how they should be entering, the flank watch, how he should be playing, the hard breach, how he should be playing. Like the IGL has got to understand like how everyone plays to be a good IGL, to be a good effective IGL. If you're not, like, I just think it'll hurt when you're trying to call things because you won't have a full understanding of like the roles that your teammates are on and like what they have to do and how they have to do it. I know it's very broad, but I feel like it's really hard to get into specific detail on that. In terms of like so after IGL we'll go with like hard breach. So I guess a key component for being a good hard breach player is obviously staying alive. Like you got to know to stay alive. You can't be taking any risks whatsoever until your job is done for the round. Like you need to get the walls open. You need to get the walls open, and you need to get your team into the building and in position. Like help them take map control. You got to be a good droner also on hard breach. Like for that to happen, like you got to be able to drone effectively and not just like send your drone into the building and like lose it instantly in the first room. Like you got to be like smart with it and like you got to be trying to keep it alive as you get your team into the building to set up for you to come in and do your job safely. Once you do your job, like I feel like the hard breach is kind of like you're kind of freed. You're able to peek stuff. Obviously, that's like it goes without saying you don't need to be peeking like unnecessary things, but you're like able to take gunfights and like take a little risk once you've done your job. Usually the hard breach is also the bomb planner, so like I will say if you're on hard breach, you should be comfortable going in and planting the bomb and like trusting your team to hold you when you're planning. Like you can't be getting off the plant and like worried about that kind of thing. You got to be like committed and confident that you know what you're doing on that, as well as like on the execute. Okay, so after hard breach, we'll go with entry. I mean entry.
Just running down the list.
I mean, yeah, that's how it's got to go, right? To be good entry, I feel like it helps a lot if you have a really good shot and you're really good mechanically. Like it helps a lot, because you get in some engagements that like, you just don't win sometimes. Like you can't win, but like you'll see some players like Fultz or Merc or Rampy, like someone or Bolo. Like there's a huge list of players like that just get an engagement that you're like, there's no way they're gonna like they should win this engagement because they have an incredible shot. Like they end up winning the engagement, getting the kill, and getting the map control. Yeah. So that stuff definitely helps and just makes you a stronger entry. But
entries, I'd say, are like they're the role that get in the most like fair engagements, like where both like them and the guy they're fighting can be on even ground, and like that's gonna happen a lot, and that's just like that's part of the role, and you have to win those. So like that's why the mechanics and the aim come in, because at the end of the day, like you have to take engagements like that, and if you're not winning them as often, then like you're less effective on the role.
Exactly, and another big thing about the entry that I don't think people really talk about or think about is like you got to know when to slow down. Like when people are going in with like Ash and they got a drone in front of them, it's easy to like get carried away when you pick up a couple kills and you start getting map control. Like you got to know when to slow down and just hold your position and like start playing it more passive while your team comes in and sets up and gets ready for execute. I think that's also a very important thing because like a lot of times you'll see an entry go in and get a couple kills and then like maybe they'll get a little too aggressive on something and then lose their life and it hurts the execute and the setup. So I think that's another important thing with entry is just knowing like when to hit the brakes.
That's something you'll notice with like the youngest players the most, I'll say.
Yeah.
Like whenever, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time when there's like a new fresh like entry on the scene, you'll always notice like they're nasty, but you'll be able to tell right away their number one problem, they got no fucking brakes. No brakes.
Yep.
So I think that's just it's important.
Yeah, it is. I think those things are really good. Like those are the big key components for like what makes a successful entry. Obviously, following a drone like is also important because sometimes like some entries are a little slow behind the drone, but like that's something that like is easily picked up on. Then we come to like flank watch. I mean, that's actually the one role that I have never played. I've never been the flank watch on a team. I've always been like with the push usually, or like helping that in some way. I'm not saying flank watch doesn't help; it does. But like, the Nade would be like the perfect person to talk to because I think he's like one of the best flank watches in the game. Like, there's like a system for it. Like,
He's so good.
There's a system for it, and like positioning yourself and your drones in the right way is the most important thing for flank watch. Like, you need to be in the right spot, like in the best spot to react to a flank off of the drones. And it needs to be like a safe enough spot to like where when you do react, you have like a good enough engagement that like you can win. You know what I mean? Yeah, patience. Patience also. Like you gotta be patient. You can't be getting antsy while you're watching your team die. Like some teammates die and get picked off. Like you gotta stick to your job, you know, as long as you can. I will say like when someone dies, it's usually like okay to like give up the flank and like be like, yo, you died, hop on my flank drones, let me know if I need to like worry about this. But yeah, setting yourself up for like a successful if someone tried to flank, like a successful stop to a retake, like that's probably the most important thing for it. Second most important thing I guess would say like knowing when to give it up, because there's a point in time in the round where you have to give it up. Like you have to either hit the back or you need to just go down and hit with the team. Like you can't just be there the whole round.
I think something else that's
hit it
important.
where?
Something else that's important in it kind of adds into like what you were saying with patience, but like also in the sense like patience, like almost like emotionally, like because I think flank watch is probably one of the roles that's the easiest to get frustrated on because you lose rounds a lot of the time and you'll have no say in the round. Like, and the thing is like you literally just you have to be okay with that. Like, because it is what it is. Like someone has to watch the flank. You have to watch the flank. Like it's not gonna be like, oh, I could stop watching the flank and I can just help you guys instead. Like at the end of the day, that's not something you can consistently do. And I think having someone on the roll that isn't like every other map, just gonna be like every time that you lose a round, be like, well, I wish I could help, or like I feel useless watching the flank. Because like at the end of the day, you're gonna feel useless a lot. You will. And like you kind of have to internalize it and deal with it because like it's a problem that's always going to be there and it's not going to feel good, but like yeah, it's part of the job. It sucks, but yeah,
it's your role, you know, like you just got to play your role and like do what you can for your role to the best of your ability, and like that's all you can do at the end of the day. Like no one can ask more of you. Like if the whole team dies and you're alone left watching flank, like you did your job that round. Like you just have to accept that. And that's just how it goes. So yeah, we did hard breach, we did the entry, fraggers, whatever, flank, IGL. I guess like coach and analyst. I mean, so for coaching and analyst, I feel like one of the most important things is just looking at the game from an unbiased perspective and from like a very like multiple different perspectives, like looking at it in creative ways. Like we constantly talk about like how we lost a round in practice, or like we as the players we don't realize like how we lost it, or like we don't realize how like a gap, or there's like a gap or a hole somewhere in the enemy team strat. And like Lycan or Luke or Sov will chime in and be like, you guys could have just done this. Like this is another option that you guys could have done. And a lot of the time it's like, wow, you're right. Like that is true. Like we could just do this, and we'll remember this for next time when we get in this situation. Like just being able to look at the game in like an unbiased way and like from multiple perspectives, giving you multiple options, I think is like one of the most important things for it. Um, the coaches and the analysts, like they help run the team. Like they run the team with you, like with the players. Like they keep everything and everyone in line. Like they should be keeping everything and anyone in line. Like if you're a coach and you're not on top of like attitudes or um, inner turmoil, like then you probably shouldn't be coaching. You know, like if you're an analyst and you don't really understand statistics and like the numbers that you're recording from like other teams, like what ops they're running, like how many times they go to this site, how many times they win this site with these ops. Like if you're not understanding all this stuff, then you probably wouldn't. Probably being an analyst isn't for you. I feel like those two jobs are like so much goes into those jobs, and it's hard to comment on key components because I'm not a coach or an analyst, you know, and I never have been. But I just think it is you have a lot more responsibility as a coach and analyst to inform your team with the right, like give them the right information to make the right decisions and help guide them to make those decisions.
Are you satisfied with the answers, Mr. Canadian?
Yeah, I like those. I know I was just going to add, I know Lycan has said, I think he said in like an SI video that like he thinks the most important thing for coaching is like patience. And I think it's for the same reason that like there's a lot of things you have to I think it was partially him dealing with it because he transitioned from being a player. But like there's a lot of things that you have to deal with that are out of your control, right? Like because at the end of the day, like you help all along the way through scrims and prep and everything, but once the team's in the match, you have like one timeout per map and that's it. Like the end of the day, it's like at that point it's out of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So like you need to have that patience because there's gonna be things that like you're gonna be watching and like he's gonna notice something that we don't notice and it's gonna drive him fucking crazy. But
Yeah.
like you have to deal with it. Like it's part of the job.
All right. Well, given the time, we have one last question. And this is from Danimal, which asked of you, Bosco, which is a similar topic to what we discussed earlier on, but with a different bend to it. It says, you recently got your degree while still playing at the highest level. And for those that don't know, it's an engineering degree, so it's not exactly like you were studying English or poli-sci or something easy. What would you recommend to other players that want to rise through the ranks of competitive Siege while still balancing their studies?
That's a really good question. I would just say that you need to know your own limits. I think that's one of the most important things. You can like generally tell like if something is too much for you. I feel like just anyone, like if what you're juggling is too much for you, or if you don't think you're up for it. Like I feel like most people you can feel that, and I think that's like one of the biggest things for me is I always was within my limits. Limits are different for everyone. Like some people can handle more than others can. It's just how it is. But for me, it was like school was more of like a necessity than like an option. You know, I was raised to believe that like getting a degree is like very important in this world, in today's world, and like it'll go a long way. Like even if like you don't happen to go into that line of work right away or at all, like just having a college degree helps a lot in today's world. So that's just how I was raised, and my parents kind of just like they pushed me to stay in school, while I was doing this. They knew I was they knew all about it. Like they knew I was doing both. They were supportive of both. They just didn't want me to give up on my studies. They didn't want me to just walk away from it, and not for the same reasons that I didn't want to walk away from it. Like they just wanted me to finish school and get my degree. So they would feel better about me having a secure future like after this is all over. If I wanted to go that route, you know? And for me it's like I agree with their perspective, but it's like they also invested in me, you know? I look at it like that. Like they helped me go to college. They helped pay for my first year before I started taking out some loans. And they made a lot of trips up to see me and help me set up every time I'd move to a new house or a new apartment. Like they just did so much for me, my parents and my family, and helping me stay and push me through it. So like it was just something that I didn't want to give up on for them as well. You know, like I didn't want all their effort and investing in me to be like for nothing, and I wanted to, you know, make them proud and like get my degree um and it was honestly for me too. Like I wanted to finish what I started. I'm like we talked about this at SI 2020. I'm a person that likes to finish what I start. Like I don't like unfinished business. I don't like open ends. Like I want to make sure that I stick with things that I start and finish them. Um so like that was motivation for me, and that is why I guess it was easier for me to balance it. It was more of like I got to make this happen, whereas like I don't have like I could make this happen. It was like I have to make this happen. I have to balance both. I have to finish school, get my degree, but like at the same time I don't want to give up on doing what I love. So um to other players that want to like become a pro player, competitive player that are still in school, I think you just got to know your own limit, and like if you really believe in yourself and you really want it, I think you should go after it. I don't think you should just give up on your dreams. Like I think you should really I think you should chase after it, because you don't know if you don't know what could happen. But I will say I don't think you should give up your education unless you strictly cannot handle it and you see yourself a future for yourself, you know, in what you're doing. Um, like if you were to try to become a professional in Siege, like if you see a future for yourself here, being a professional, being in the Siege community, like I think it's okay to walk away from it if it's too much. I know plenty of pros that have done that, and I don't think it was a mistake at all for them to do so. I think it, I think some people, like those people, just realized like that they wanted to be better at their job, better at Siege, and they wanted to put like school is something you can finish anytime in your life. You can put that on the back burner. You can go back to school and get your degree anytime you want. But like an opportunity to be a professional gamer, like something to do that you love, that doesn't come. That's a once in a lifetime thing. So don't pass up a once in a lifetime opportunity if like you believe you can make it happen. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Yeah, make sure you're on top of multitasking and balancing your time and like not falling behind. Just stuff like that. I mean, it takes discipline, self-discipline, a lot of it.
I think the big thing is to prioritize what you think is best for you and what also gives you the best opportunity moving forward. Because I mean, I even had this debate. I was in school. I was going back to finish up my degree. I got offered this job. I had a couple options. Did I give up on possibly making this a career and just say, you know what? No, it's probably not consistent. I don't know how long this will last. Even if it's 3 years of fun, those are 3 years that I could be establishing myself in another career, in another industry. You know, do I say, yeah, I'll do it temporarily and then eventually quit when I think that the bottom is falling out of it? If it does end up falling out, and go back to school, what is the most stable for me? And at the end of the day, I prioritize taking a chance on this. Some people will do that. You know, you were able to do both of them at the same time. I think it earns a huge amount of respect and is so difficult. But I think for a lot of people, I want to be a Twitch streamer. I want to be a pro gamer. Is our generation's, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be an actor. And I think people need to realize that the likelihood that anybody that plays Rainbow Six Siege is going to be good enough to even make it into Challenger League is tiny. Not only that, but then when you go up to Pro League, or well, now the divisions or the leagues or whatever you want to call it, it gets even smaller. And then even if you make it, how many people played a season and a half of Pro League and then just they were never back again? They were gone. That was it. That was their one and done. They made maybe a couple $1,000 and that's it. That's their legacy. Yeah. And now they may be years behind because it's like so many of these retired Siege pros that played like a couple seasons, they finished high school and then immediately came into this. Who knows how good their high school grades were because they were likely playing this game when they were 16, 17. So they could be fucked. They could be at a huge disadvantage. And I think the best advice that anybody can give, what you said about discipline is, honestly, like, you need to prioritize what is most reasonable for you. You have something to fall back on personally. A lot of these, I get a lot of DMs being like, you know, my parents tell me that I should go to university, but I want to become a pro gamer. What do you think? And almost all my answers are go to university. Like, I'm not trying to douse your passion, but the likelihood that you're going to be able to make something of it and then actually set yourself up for the rest of your life is tiny. And I know that sucks for a lot of people, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend giving up on something like that until like you have a solid opportunity. Like,
yeah.
I did school and then this happened while I was in college, you know. And honestly, if this had all happened, like me becoming a pro, like happened right when I got out of high school, like I probably wouldn't have gone to college like right away. I probably would have waited and put it off until I was done with this, you know, because even what I did is a risk. Like, I decided to I was already so far in that I decided to just finish it out, right? And just like stick through the degree and get it and get it. But like at the same time, like I got a degree in like engineering, which is a science field, and like every couple of years that is like the field and like all the information and knowledge is like being updated. Like there's innovations and like I decided to not prioritize that, even though like I finished out and got the degree. It's still not the same thing, right? As like being up to date with everything going on in that field. Like I'm gonna have to relearn all this stuff and like learn everything new, all the new stuff by the time I want to go back to that. So like the only reason I decided to stick with college is because I was so deep in, right? And it was something I didn't want to walk away from. But like if you're able to like put it on the back burner, I do think you can. I don't think I don't think it's like detrimental to your future if you do that at all. But yeah, know your limits and don't overwork yourself. Like I could comment on that. Like there was a point in time where when I was working UPS, going to school, playing the game and then streaming. Like I would like doing all that stuff is too much, and eventually like something starts to take a hit. For me, I decided to quit UPS, and like I also had to cut streaming for a while. There was a point in time where I was streaming every single night after scrims till like 5 a.m., 4 a.m. I was streaming late night, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it because I enjoy Siege. But it eventually became too much, and like I had to stop. Like I literally had to stop streaming, and to be okay, like mentally and like physically, like feel like it wasn't too much for me. So I just think that's also really important. Like if you have to walk away from something, like it's okay to do so. It's not gonna be detrimental to your future. Like I said, like you have a long life ahead of you. Just make smart decisions, you know. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Make smart decisions, and don't give up on. Just don't throw away like viable options for the future. You know, just because you're some casual player that dreams of being a pro. Like it's more than that. Like you gotta have the opportunity. So.
Very well
Just
put.
be smart about it. Yeah.
Very well put. Anything to add, Mr.
I mean,
Canadian?
I don't have a lot to say. I'm kind of like in a different situation. I don't comment on this because I don't know. I mean, I think I made the right decision given the position I was in, but I definitely took a risky decision because like I stopped school when this game was tiny. Like I had no idea that this game would blow up to be as big as it was. I mean, I hope so. I saw the potential that it would. I also will say that I was very confident in myself in school to where I knew that even if I took a break and this didn't work out, I was completely confident I could go back to school and I'd be fine. So that was a big part of it for me. And also I'm a person where, like Bosco's saying, like with limits, like I need to do one thing at a time. Like I have something, and that's currently my job, being a pro player and my team. That's like my number one priority. I'm the type of person where I have my number one priority and I give fucking everything to it, but I can't do anything else. So like I couldn't do school alongside it. I can't do streaming while I play pro. Like
You love streaming.
I
You love ranked. What are you talking about?
yeah, like it's just how I am. And at the end of the day, I think the part of me is that I would get frustrated knowing that I like am not giving my best to it. Like I wouldn't be happy with myself as a pro player if like I was doing school on top of it, because I know that I'd have to like choose between the two, because like there'd be a point in time where like it'd be like I have to do this piece of schoolwork, or like the team is currently struggling and like I need to just like take some time to just like think things through to help like solve our team's problem or whatever. Like trying to like decide between that, like I know I would end up choosing the game. So like it going to like just setting it aside and just focusing on the game like was the best for me. And I knew that if the game did do well, that like I would just work as hard as I could and like focus on just staying at the top. I will say also, when I did it, like I was already like I was on one of the best teams in the game, and like I knew the potential I had. It wasn't like I was a casual player in an already big game and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take time off school and like dedicate myself to it. It was a brand new game, and like I was already one of the best players and like on a good team in the game. So it's it's a lot easier, like Bosco said. Like the opportunity has to be there.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like it was
That's
still a risk for me because I didn't know the game would be big, but I knew that if the game was big, that it would, or became big, that it'd be worth it.
Very true.
yeah.
It's risk assessment too, right? And if you're passionate about something, you know, and you have a dream, then chase it, but just realize that sometimes that might put you in a very bad spot moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't what did they say? Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Don't put yourself in a really risky position with very minimal upside or very limited return, but tons of risk, you know, and risk management is obviously, some people are going to be much more likely to gamble on things.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are, you know, much more cautious. Depends on who you are. And at the end of the day, the way the odds work, somebody's got to be a pro. It could be you. You could be a content creator. You could be a streamer. You could be a caster. Who knows? But there's millions of people who stream on Twitch every single day, and the likelihood of them ever breaking 50 viewers is tiny, 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 bordering on virtually zero. And yet they do it anyway because they like it. And that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoy it and you're not fucking yourself over, go for it. But try to have a backup plan. And there's a couple people in the chat right now who are talking, basically saying, you know, like school will always be there. You know, you've got your whole life ahead of you, etc. That's true for most people. For some people, you have a small window of opportunity. Seize it.
That is true.
Yeah.
So
It's different for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I think what you said about passion, like that's a big thing too. And yeah, I'll say too, like, so for me, like the big thing was finding passion again, because my passion before was sports and hockey, and I couldn't do that anymore. And I needed to kind of find that new passion, and that was a big struggle I had myself. And I found it with like competitive video games, and I actually started out similar to Bosco, like playing like Call of Duty competitively. Like I'd play game battles and tournaments on the game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like that wasn't all my time, right? Like I would just do that after school. And I will say though, like I got really into it because that's again the type of person I am. I could still balance it with school, but like I was very invested into it, and like it affected my social life and all that stuff because I can't help it. That's how I am. And then Siege came out, and then the opportunity presented itself. But I do think just do what you can manage. Know your limits, and I mean I think you should always try to make some room for your passion. Like
100%.
At the end of the day, like if you're truly passionate about something, like I don't know, maybe like I have a different level of passion, but like I know that like if I'm truly passionate about something, like I think I can do fucking anything. And I feel like that can be the same for anyone. I mean, maybe it's hard to find your passion. That definitely can be the case, because like I mean, I like had my passion, I lost it, and I literally I didn't think I could find it again. I didn't. I was like, what am I gonna do now?
You're like Shawn Michaels in the
Yeah, so
like Shawn
like,
Michaels in the early 90s.
but like it's out there. I mean, I think everyone has it, and I think it's a matter of finding it. And when you find it, don't let it go. I think I don't know. Passion is powerful.
It really is.
Well, I think that's as good of a point as ever to cap this one off. We are 40 minutes over what the estimated end time was, but I think that's the hallmark of a good discussion. So I appreciate both of you taking the time, since you're both on the same team. And I know that you might be late for scrims. I apologize, Lycan. I will free up your two lads. Before we go, Bosco, where can people find you? Plug your socials.
Just in the chat.
I mean, well, say them out loud.
Oh,
You can do either. I mean, it's
I'll just
your
put them
call.
in the chat.
Well, because this will be on like YouTube and like
Yeah.
Spotify
Okay.
and all that.
Well, I mean, I just have Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Those are like my three main things. My Twitch is just Bosco. My Twitter, you see it on the page, dbosco_. Instagram, it's Bosco_R6. Yeah, I do plan to pick up streaming again once I feel comfortable enough to do it. I have been putting it off just because, honestly, it burnt me out doing everything I was doing at once. And, after I graduated and came to Vegas, I just kind of wanted to, like, chill and just focus on the one thing rather than the multiple things. So it is coming, though. The streams will be back eventually, just so you guys know. So, yeah, make sure to tune in when it does.
I liked watching them.
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the support that I've gotten, and I appreciate both of you guys having me on here. It was really great. It's great talking to you guys, talking about all this stuff. I enjoyed it a lot.
We always enjoy having good guests on, and I think that you were as good as any. And it's nice to hear good people tell their stories. And I think that you were not just a good player, but I also have considered you a friend over the last couple years. And it's good that you get to tell your story. And it was a real pleasure. The pleasure was all ours.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I liked it.
I liked it a lot as well. With that said, we'll have your socials down below if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, he's already told you where to find him. If you made it this far, always appreciate following either on Twitch, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, etc. We'll be back next Sunday with our 9th episode. We'll be announcing the guest on Twitter Saturday morning as usual. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.